his right, heads that way, now cuts back, heads to his left, fires a strike into the end zone. It is caught. Touchdown, Stefon Diggs, his third of the game. Unbelievable. Josh Allen on the run to his left somehow fired an absolute fastball to Stefon Diggs, who caught it going down to the ground. Touchdown, Buffalo.
Bills Radio Network. Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills sweep the New England Patriots. It wasn't a surprise. We didn't learn anything new about either team. But when you look at what that means, that was the first time since 2000 an AFC East team has beat New England twice in one season. It was an important moment for the Buffalo Bills, who, yes, are already AFC East champions. But on the way down, no one is going to do New England any favors. And last night was a reminder that the Buffalo Bills are a threat to the Kansas City Chiefs, and that Bill Belichick, as amazing as that run was with Tom Brady, there is not a Hall of Fame quarterback walking through that door right now. And there is a lot of work to be done in New England. But credit to the Buffalo Bills for putting a stamp, cementing themselves atop that AFC East last night. And it is always sweeter when you do it against that team. Whether it was the Dolphins officially eliminating the Patriots last week, the Bills having their way with the Patriots last night, Stefon Diggs putting Jackson in a blender and just continuing his fantastic season working with Josh Allen. You know, what you saw last night was just a little bit of, yes, this is a new era in the AFC East, and that is a team that you need to trust, you need to buy into in Buffalo. What it do, everyone? Good morning and welcome into the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by our quarterback, Ned James. Got Jay Pole and Alden holding it down on ProView Networks. You can get involved with the show today. Quan's Auto Care hotline is 246-0610. Send your email, jj@610canml.com. Ned, we've talked about this Buffalo team. We knew how good they were, the steps that Josh Allen took. But last night was just kind of the exclamation point on the story that we know is the Buffalo Bills this season. Throughout the broadcast, if you're watching on Monday Night Football or listening to the game right here on The Sports Animal, there's a lot to talk about what's next for New England. And we'll get there in a second, but this is all about Buffalo and just how good that they are. And anytime you get a chance to beat the New England Patriots, doesn't matter if it's a struggling Cam Newton, if it's with or without Tom Brady, that is a statement moment for any team in the AFC East, especially with how good Buffalo has been this season.
That was definitely a statement moment. We've watched the progression of Josh Allen, probably more so than a lot of people because he was in the Mountain West Conference. And so we got a chance to see him for 2 years in the conference coming out of junior college, and then his maturation as a rookie quarterback into a playoff playing quarterback. They didn't win, but to an AFC East title and perhaps Super Bowl contender this year. And I have to say, I have to admit, I missed a lot on this guy. This guy has really, really far exceeded my expectations of how he would do in the NFL. Now, he's got the NFL prototypical body size. He's running around, getting hit, which is going to take its toll because you can see it on the other side of the ball with the other guy who used to run around like that when he first came into the league. And he was an MVP. But Josh Allen has far exceeded a lot of people's expectations because his completion percentage, setting the record for the Buffalo Bills completion percentage for the season, is something that's remarkable at 68 or whatever. Brian Daboll, who's the offensive coordinator there, has really, really far exceeded what anybody expected this quarterback to be able to do. And so now they're in the driver's seat potentially to contend with the Kansas City Chiefs for the Super Bowl title. I just really felt bad for Cam Newton because this may be the demise of Cam Newton. This may be, where he finally falls off that cliff because he really looked average in this game. It looked like he was shot putting the ball. I never really liked the way he threw the ball, but he just looked really awkward throwing the football yesterday. even though Belichick really didn't, kind of hammer him as far as how he thought he played, they really did play bad on defense. And I thought that upset Belichick. At the end of the game, he really felt that they didn't really play very well on defense because he seemed pretty confident at the beginning of this game that they would pretty much put Josh Allen in his place. He really didn't feel like there was any significant threat at that position to their defense, and he just shelled him. I mean, he just really did a number on the Patriots defense, and I think that's what upset Bill Belichick the most at the end of that game. There's just no substitute for youth and speed. I thought, the offside penalties when, the Patriots had a chance early in the game to come back. They get an interception down in the red zone, and the defensive tackle's jumping off sides because he's trying to anticipate. And that's unlike any Bill Belichick defense, where the lack of discipline from their defensive players. And I think Belichick benched him the rest of the game. The guy had 2 offside penalties. But it's just those kind of things that, I just thought, they lost some of their momentum when they were playing pretty good early on in the game, and then it snowballed from there. I just really thought Cam just really didn't have a feel for the game. And Bill Belichick is smart. I mean, and this is what people don't realize. And I know I say that the New England cheaters and Bill Belichick, but one thing you have to remember that these guys didn't have any training camp. These guys didn't have any OTAs or anything like that. And Cam's coming into a new system. He had to learn it by television. So I think Belichick is giving him a pass because of those things. And I think he really kind of wants to see if he can do something more with him at a later date. With all things being equal, he's able to have him in the building. He's able to have him around. They're able to coach him up. I think he thinks it would be a little bit different for Cam. I think he's kind of empathizing with Cam because he thinks he's put him in a bad position because coming in late, coming in the camp in July, and then having to start and having to learn a whole new system on the run. I think that's I think Bill's a little bit empathetic to Cam from that standpoint because Cam looked bad. He just looked bad in that game. And I think New England moving forward, I think they're thinking about, do we really want to invest in Cam another year? I think that's what's kind of frustrating a lot of people. And I think Bill doesn't really care what other people think, so it's not going to matter. When he makes his decision, he's going to make the decision, and that's going to be that. I mean, people are trying to compare him to Robert Kraft's pet cat that's down in Tampa Bay now called Tom Brady. And so they think that, the reason they were winning was because of Tom Brady. And a lot of it had to do with Tom, but also Bill as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this team moves forward. But, boy, you just got to give it to Buffalo. And the way they looked last night, it was just amazing to watch the progression of this Josh Allen kid. We've seen him, like you said, we've seen him and when he was in college at Wyoming, we got to see him up close and personal. I got to stand down there on the field and watch him throw, balls into the stands because he was just like Wild Thing from the movie. He just had that fastball. He would just throw the ball all over the place. But now, I mean, they kind of reeled him in. He's kind of a little bit under control. He's scrambling. Boy, I tell you, he was good off the scramble in college. I mean, he could really throw the ball.
He has plus athleticism, no doubt about it. But the thing is, you saw 2 different quarterbacks at different stages of their career. Josh Allen is ascending towards peak Josh Allen. I don't even think an offseason is going to fix Cam Newton at this point in time. His throwing motion is broken. You said it. He shot puts the football. He doesn't step into throws. Cam Newton was a great athlete. He's still a good athlete, but he was a great athlete that his athleticism made him an MVP player in this league. And we can still run the football. He can still be a threat. We saw that last night, another rushing touchdown. But even with the lack of receivers, if he had receivers, he can't get the football downfield. He can't get the football to those receivers. So, yeah, New England doesn't have good skill position players, but Cam Newton skips so many footballs. So I think it's probably one thing Bill Belichick sees it and just doesn't want to tear him down, because I think Bill Belichick, to your point, has come to like Cam Newton. We gave him this opportunity. It feels like they have a good working relationship. Cam Newton shows up, does his job, but he just doesn't have it anymore at that level. And I was one where I wanted to see him get one more shot. I wanted to see, coming off those injuries, how does Cam Newton respond? Well, I think himself, the person, the player, has responded well, but his body hasn't. And Cam Newton, at this point in time, his future is as a backup in this league. I don't think you can count on Cam Newton as your starting quarterback week in and week out if you can't throw the football down the field. So we saw a quarterback that is playing the best football of his career, that is rising to be the guy in that division, and one that Bill will keep telling you paid Cam Newton $1 million. Well, it doesn't matter if you paid him $1 million or $10 million. The guy can't throw a football anymore. And so the future for Cam Newton is going to be a backup quarterback in this league. And I'm thinking teams like Baltimore, Arizona, that you have those spread systems and those run elements, would be a great place for him moving forward. And the Patriots, if they thought Jarrett Stidham could play, they would have benched Cam Newton a couple weeks ago. They don't have a quarterback on the roster. They don't have the quarterback of the future in that building. And that's the difference. You have a Buffalo Bills team ascending, a Patriots team that you can look at the reality of the situation. There were a lot of opt-outs. They didn't have a lot of money this season, but they're not good in a lot of places. And now for the Buffalo Bills, they are a team, and it wasn't just last night. It's a team that I'm all in on, that I believe they are the biggest threat to Kansas City in the AFC. Because when you look at the Patriots, it's not necessarily playing a great defensive game, because that's few and far between. And what we saw last Sunday, the Chiefs struggling against Atlanta, that's not going to happen. And yeah, they've played a lot of close games, surprisingly. Was it their last 7 games they've won by it's either the last 6 games it's 7 points or less, or the last 7 games it's like 6 points or less, but they're winning. I think when it comes to the playoffs, to beat the Chiefs, I'm thinking like an SEC title game scenario where you're going to have to go score for score with this team. How did the Raiders beat Kansas City earlier this season? They scored 40 points on them. And when I'm looking at Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, I really think that if there's anyone that you could say is Patrick Mahomes light, that's Josh Allen right now, with the athleticism and the throws that he can make. So that is why I think they're the biggest threat as we stand right now, heading into Week 17 and the playoffs following.
Yeah, but the only thing I was arguing was the fact that that New England didn't have all the weapons. And I know I teased Bill Belichick and the New England Cheaters and Tom the Cheater, Brady that's down in Tampa now. But I do think the opt-out on defense, you talked about the #1 defense in the entire NFL last year. There's no way you're going to beat a Bill Belichick team with that type of defense. And the majority of those guys that opted out, they took less money because it is brutal to play for Bill Belichick in New England in December when you're a player, because that bubble is just for eye candy, because he has those guys practicing outdoors in the winter up there in New England, and veteran guys don't like playing up there, but guys like getting paid, so they'll play. But he really has those guys ready for wintertime and those late games in December up there in New England come this time of the year. But because of the opt-outs, I think it hurt them. And I'm not trying to give New England an excuse. I'm the last person to want to give the New England Cheaters an excuse for losing. But at the same time, I do think that Bill kind of recognizes that they were behind the gun a little bit early, and they were just playing catch up. And he doesn't really buy into the fact that Buffalo is all that great. I think that's what he's thinking in his mind. Like,
he can think that, but he needs to realize that the fact is, whether or not they had an off season, Buffalo is way ahead of them as we speak because of the quarterback position. The Patriot way doesn't matter if you don't have a quarterback. The Patriot way doesn't exist if players realize we're not going to win in New England. So it's a fair talking point about that defense, but you're not going to get those veterans for cheaper if they look at New England and say, well, you still get the same Bill Belichick, you still get that same attitude, but you're not getting the same results moving forward. So to rebuild the Patriot way, they have to figure out, are they going to have a quarterback that Josh McDaniels can work with, so then a defense can matter in New England. So Monday Night Football last night, a big victory for Buffalo. It was just cementing the exclamation point on their season, 38-9 over New England. And also the first time a team has swept the Patriots since 2000. So that is why, yes, that is an amazing stat. So that is why when we talk about Belichick, we talk about the Patriot way, because it's been dominant. They have ran that division. They have gone to the Super Bowl. They have won Super Bowls. But no longer do they have a Hall of Fame quarterback to keep that going. So Bill Belichick, yeah, he might like the challenge, and the challenge is real moving forward. But for the Buffalo Bills, do you think they are a legit threat to Kansas City in the AFC? I think right now it is a two-team race with two elite teams in the AFC, and then everyone else. Can someone get hot in that final week of the season heading in to the NFL playoffs? We've got a lot to get to today. Take your phone calls. Quan's Auto Care hotline is 246-0610. You can send an email, jj@610knml.com. A 21-game win streak was broken. Mexico State did something they haven't done in a long time, and Chris Jans was very upset and frustrated with what happened at the end of the game. We'll get into that next. JJ Buck joined by Ned James, Mike holding it down. Got Alden and Jay Pohl on ProView Networks. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM AM 610, the Sports Animal.
You've seen Rich Eisen on TV and
as Javi's looking, and he's got a guy wide open, and it's Gay, and he's gonna walk into the end zone. But he did a good job with it. First and goal, it's Chavez to the middle, and Chavez stops.
And Stevens in motion. On the handoff to Mitchell. Look out! Oh, see you later. Take it to the house. Fly. Cardinals fly. To the other side. Provide some protection. And off to Webskowski again. Look out. See you later. Good night. Touchdown. Webskowski. Day. He's going to fire to the end zone. Open man! Touchdown! Wildcat! Not a defender inside. A little bit. Kowski on the sideline! Asta Manana! He's off to the races! Touchdown! Clovis!
Albuquerque this afternoon.
34-24, Rancho, late in the third. How about this run? Nice play, Dickerman. He's still on his feet. Touchdown, Wolverine.
Exactly what they want to get yards.
He's going
going to go for it. He's got a guy towards the end zone. It's grabbed. Touchdown. What a play.
And long here for the Storm. Handoff to, we're going to fake the handoff, excuse me. Davidson on the deep ball. He's got some space, and it's caught. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Storm. Wow. Santa Maria.
And so they'll send one deep and returnable at the 2. Usually Volcano do either a reverse or a fake reverse, and here it is a reverse. And a move to the outside. There is a lane. Look out! Shot out of a cannon. Rodriguez is going to take it all the way.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili, breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Well, I'm going to the frontier.
Didn't play very well. Didn't play very well. Didn't play good enough to win on the road. And I'm sure we have, but since we've arrived here, I don't remember losing a game like that. I just don't. And I'm not saying we haven't, because we've lost our fair share, but I don't remember us losing a game when we clearly had it in hand for the majority of the game. I don't think they led very long or very many times, and we just didn't get the job done in the end. I certainly didn't. I didn't help them enough. We didn't make smart basketball plays.
That is New Mexico State head men's basketball coach Chris Jans. New Mexico State didn't look like a team that hasn't played since December 1st until the final 2 minutes of the basketball game. And then they look like a squad that has not played a D1 team yet this season and been in a competitive environment for almost a month. The 21-game win streak that New Mexico State had is now gone as New Mexico State falls at Cal State Northridge 66-63. The Aggies led 63-58 with a minute 43 to go. Then CSUN scored the next 8 points. Donnie Tillman had a shot attempt, a game-tying 3. As the clock expired, he missed it to the left. As you heard there from Chris Jans, the disappointment, the frustration in the clutch, the final moments as New Mexico State goes down, and that really was the difference in the basketball game. They looked like the better team. CSUN had their runs, but New Mexico State took control in the second half. Started the guard play. Evan Gilliard, I thought Johnny McCants had a fantastic game. He finished with 19 points, 8 rebounds, playing a stretch 4 position, playing a lot on the outside, showcasing his shooting touch for a big man. But when it came to clutch time basketball, the moments that mattered in the game, New Mexico State could not make the plays, especially defensively, which is something you really do not expect from New Mexico State. But the game yesterday was the first time they were on the basketball court since December 1st. But we've said it. You've heard it from the coaches, all basketball coaches in this state and football coaches at the Division I level. No excuses. You have to deal with the challenges, the hand that you are dealt. Because for 38 minutes in that game, Mexico State looks fine. They look like a team that wasn't rusty, that didn't have a huge layoff in their season. But when it mattered most, that's when they struggled. And they were tested by a Division I basketball team. This is the first D1 team that they played. Chris Jans would also go on to say, he, a frustrated coach post game, but he just wants to get back to practice. He's not even worried about playing games. He just says, practice, practice, practice. We need more practice. Well, they hope to get in one more game because there's conference play is not scheduled to January 8th, but the 21-game win streak is snapped. And it doesn't matter if there's challenges living on the road, whatever. That one hurts. And you heard it from Chris Jans. You saw it post-game last night. This team not able to get it done in the clutch. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, joined by Ned James this morning. Got Michael holding it down at Radio Ranch. Got Jay Pohl and Alden. ProView Networks, of course, you can watch the show, Comcast Channel 26. Stream us online. Facebook is a great way to find the show. And give us a call, 246-0610 is the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. That's a rough one, Ned. Yeah. I know it's when you look at
you listen to Jazz talk, you just realize how tough, after having a 21-game streak snapped like that, and then who it was snapped against. You're talking about Cal State Northridge, which is, not exactly, a Power 5 or a Group of 5 school. So, you're disappointed. I mean, I feel bad for our little brothers to the south, the Aggies. And so, but it did take some work by a former Lobo, Vontae Hendricks, who was on the Cal State Northridge team to get to the Aggies. And Vontae was a good player. I mean, he had his troubles here, and so he transferred to Northridge. A good friend of mine, Kevin Harpus, his son was on that Cal State Northridge team. Elijah Harpus, he's transferred to Oklahoma. He started at Oklahoma. So they've lost some players. So they've got quality players at Cal State Northridge. Mark Gottfried has done a good job, even though he's under investigation everywhere else. He's done a good job of getting players at Cal State Northridge. I mean, he knows how to get players. And so they have some good talent on Northridge's team. So it was just an unfortunate loss. I think, maybe they thought, going in to play a team like Northridge that they somehow would be able to, kind of overcome some of the deficiencies they may have thought that a team like Cal State Northridge would have. But they've got talent on that team at Northridge. I mean, they had talent last year when the Lobos played them. So it's unfortunate, but fortunate because they are Aggies. And so being a Lobo, I have to kind of give them a little bit of a dig. I feel bad because they are little brothers and we have to support them. But that's a tough way to go to lose a streak like that. I think that's what Jans's voice is saying more than the fact that they need to practice more, or the restrictions that we're having in the state as a result of the virus. But they just you want to get back to the drawing board and find out why you lost the game to a team that you were expected to beat, and that they thought maybe they were a little bit better than. So
they weren't dominating the contest, but they were in control. There were a lot of moments that early on it was a 2-possession game. Maybe the Aggies had a 5-point lead, but they kept that level. Even when CSUN did go on a run, the Aggies would push it back to 5 or 6 points. So they had a steady game until the final minute 43, and then that's when Cal State Northridge scored the final 8 points of the game. And that's the most frustrating thing I think for Chris Jans is they haven't had a lot of roster turnover. Now they are without the WAC preseason player of the year, Jabari Rice. He broke his foot, so he's not playing. Clayton Henry didn't play, but they're still good enough. And that was evident by having a lead in this contest with under 2 minutes to go at CSUN when you haven't played since December 1st. And so that's what is frustrating if you're New Mexico State, is you were good enough to have the lead. You were good enough to finish that game, and they did not play good down the stretch in clutch time, especially defensively, because that is the calling card for Chris Jans and New Mexico State. His Aggie teams play tough defensively. His Aggie teams are tough to beat. And in that situation, they weren't tough. And that's where you got also Chris Jans, commenting on he can't recall his team losing a game that way, where they just made a ton of mistakes down the stretch. And CSUN capitalized. They had some big-time shots. They had a big jumper there late. And you mentioned Vontae Hendricks bringing a lot of energy off the bench. Lobo, who, you're right, he had issues with Paul Weir, issues in the team, and maybe got sent home from Las Vegas and Mountain West tournament last season. So his career is continuing at CSUN. Now it's the third team that he's played for in his collegiate career because he started at Utah. But he brought a lot of energy, and you see the player he could have been, because he was that player last night for CSUN, scoring 11 points, getting to the basket. But anytime, yes, they started much like the Lobos. New Mexico State was just hoping to find games, and they had to play 2 NAI opponents to start the season. All right, that got your win streak to 21 games carried over from last year. But when that is snapped, whether it's in a season like this or a regular year, it's going to be frustrating with the way the Aggies lost the game. But they were able to get back on the basketball court, learn about yourself. And the one thing Chris Jans said last week leading up to this game, and while it stinks when it happens, is he wants his team to be tested. He wants his team to be exposed in non-conference play, because how do you get better? How do you address things in practice if you don't see it? And he saw some things last night that he will gladly take back to that meeting room with his staff and be able to work on.
Yeah, but like you said, Vontae Hendricks is from that area. He's from Woodland Hills. He went to high school right down the street from Cal State Northridge. So I mean, it was probably a better fit for him to stay closer to home than to go out of state like he did and have the issues that he's had. But with Chris Jans' team, yeah, you want to go back to the drawing board, but like you said, he's got injuries. I mean, everybody's got injuries. Everybody's got, these things that are restricting them this season. But at the same time, you got a talented Cal State Northridge team. I just remember talking to Coach Craig Snow last year when Cal State came in, because I had been trying to get them to my buddy's son, who's at Oklahoma now. I said, hey, when he was a freshman, I said, hey, this guy's a pretty good player. And Craig would say, yeah, he is a good player, man. But he said they've got a lot of good players at Cal State Northridge. I mean, when they were doing their scouting reports, I sat in the basketball office, and he said they got several good players. And they'd had, I don't know if he's still on the team, the NBA player's son, who's I can't think of his name. I just had his name a few minutes ago. I'll think of it here in a second. But they've got some really talented players on that Cal State Northridge team. So I expected to be close. They played the Lobos pretty tough here when we played them, and they came up here and played. And they played us. We hit a last-second shot 2 years ago down there to win the game. So it was by the grace of God, we won a game down there 2 years ago. So I mean, it's not an easy place to win. It's not an easy out for teams who are putting them on the schedule. And now they've got Mark Godfrey down there, who's the Kansas coach, who's is big time NCAA tournament coach, who's battle tested, and I even think they have the UCLA coach Jim Herrick on that staff as well. So I mean, they've got quality coaching, and they've got a talent pool there in Southern California to draw from, and so it's going to be a tough egg no matter who you are coming in there. So Chris Jans shouldn't feel too bad. I know a lot of people are looking at the fact that it was Cal State Northridge, and they're thinking, he lost to a Cal State. What is that? We never even heard of Cal State Northridge. Where is that? All we know is the Northridge earthquake. We don't know anything about Northridge, California. But they're going to rebound. I mean, like you said, they had a couple of injuries, and I'm just more interested in seeing how the Lobos respond, because I know our little brothers to the south always want to have the leg up on us. But I know we're talking about Aggies. But,
and it's it's a season. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to get to see that game. I would love to see it happen, even if it was just one contest. Somehow they could make it work between the Lobos and Aggies for that rivalry, with or without that atmosphere. It matters. When we're talking basketball in the state of New Mexico, we're talking Lobos, Aggies. It matters. I don't think we're going to see that, so we're going to have to just see these teams deal with what's in front of them. For New Mexico State, unfortunately, it was a bad final 2 minutes against Cal State Northridge as they lose 66-63, ending a 21-game win streak that they had. For the Lobos, it's back to action Thursday, hosting Nevada in Lubbock. So once again, it is the Lobos on the road at Lubbock Christian University will be where they're playing that game. Coming up at 8:30 this morning, we'll talk with Hunter Green, former Lobo basketball player, analyst on the UNM Sports Radio Network, alongside Robert Portnoy, and get his thoughts on what he's seen from the team so far, and pick his brain on style of play, some of the traits of the players to this point in time. So that's coming up at 8:30. Coming up next on the other side, the NFL is not for long. And one of the quarterbacks that we've talked about, does he have a future in this game? And also, what does it mean for some of the other quarterbacks that have played well but have question marks when it comes to their contracts? That is next. It's Opening Drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Right now we have an accident in the clean.
Root beer and a number one, cover it with green stuff. One scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough. Back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot. It's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
I'll just get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what
Hill's gonna just shoot it.
He's going to go all the way.
He's gonna fire at the buzzer and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much.
Tie in the district. Inside. Fly. Eagles.
Chavez uses some athleticism. And then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds. And look at this. Stripped, stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Said that any better. He answered the question. He
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
To the paint. Medina from the volleyball lines. Medina wants another one from deep. Oh, he wants 10. Give him 10.
Lewis finds Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Vista, but just all the different scenarios we could see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.
Oh!
Moreno extra pass. And Watson. Out with it, Gallegos, and he's going to run all the way. Window, yes! Able to get out of it. How did he find Battle? It's to Cunningham, and it...
I mean, Ramos' hand.
Ramos puts it up, beats the buzzer!
Boy, Jefferson wide open. Getting
Jefferson to Daraji! Into Watson with the jam!
Since 2000, 4 first-round quarterbacks were cut between their second and third seasons. Josh Rosen, Paxton Lynch, Johnny Manziel, and Brandon Weeden. Not a good crop of quarterbacks to be in with. However, the first-round pick since 2000 to be cut before the end of year 2 was Dwayne Haskins. The Washington football team released their quarterback yesterday. We know the turmoil that he has been through off the field over the last 2 weeks has not taken advantage of his opportunity on the football field. This is a team that is in position to win the division. All they have to do is win a football game. And they turned to Dwayne Haskins the last 2 weeks to lead this football team despite everything that was going on. But he fell out of favor very quickly within that organization. We saw it earlier this season. He was benched for Kyle Allen, someone that Ron Rivera was very comfortable with his time at Carolina. Of course, Alex Smith came in. Alex Smith has been available. But it shows you that just the hint, the ability for Alex Smith to take the football field. He got an unlimited practice yesterday. Boom, they were done with Dwayne Haskins. They were no longer willing to deal with him on or off the field at this point in time. And then you start looking back on some of the stories that we're talking about Dwayne Haskins and his ability. He wasn't ready. Maybe he didn't quite have all the skills needed at this point in time, which is a tough one. But it's also, they selected him in the first round, whether or not he was ready. You try to develop it, but then you have the curveball. You have a brand new staff coming in, guys that were not on Dwayne Haskins. There was already, going back to last season with Jay Gruden when he was the head coach, some controversy whether or not he wanted him selected. But what we know is Dwayne Haskins is done. They're keeping their fingers crossed that Alex Smith will be good to go, because the backup is some dude that was playing football for the first time last week. But the Dwayne Haskins story is, it's a bummer if you're Dwayne Haskins. You hope, just from the personal side, that he's actually learned something about it. But also, I'm not sure what's next, because Dwayne Haskins really hasn't flashed a whole lot on the football field. He hasn't had a lot of moments where you go, wow, you know what? I see why this guy's a first-round pick. Yeah, he had fantastic numbers at Ohio State. A lot of quarterbacks have. And it still takes a lot to then get to the NFL and be able to do that with pros all around you, pros game planning for you. We haven't seen that yet. And that's, okay, yes, it's a below 500 football team, but that's not a bad football team when you look at Washington and how they've played. And for Dwayne Haskins, I don't know what's next, but it sure as heck isn't with Washington. And it tells you everything you need to know. That he had the opportunity the last 2 weeks. They turned to him to be the starting quarterback. In the first moment that they felt that Alex Smith is good enough, that they are willing to go into a Week 17 must-win game with Alex Smith and then an unproven backup because they were so done with him.
Yeah, but I mean, that is a bad football team. The Redskins aren't below 500
okay,
team.
yes.
They're not that great a team. And
okay,
you got to get
right.
the one thing that I disagree with when you get rid of a young quarterback, the guy's 23 years old. He probably came out of school a year early. You're switching up coaches on him. You're in the throes of a global pandemic, so none of the guys got to come in and practice all spring, all fall, and you got a new staff, and these guys are appearing as if they didn't really want him, so they bring in their own quarterback. So he's behind the 8 ball, and he's young, and he's a tad bit immature, which a lot of them are. I don't think he's dumb. He's not a dumb guy. He's a pretty bright kid. The problem is you have to develop guys. If you don't develop a quarterback, you're going to always be looking for a quarterback, somebody else's quarterback. I remember George Allen, the late, great Washington Redskins coach. He would always say he never wanted young guys because he wanted somebody else to train them, and then he would bring them in once they were already trained and they were already ready to play, because you don't want to have to develop a young guy because it takes time. And a lot of teams, a lot of coaches, they don't have time. You have to win now or they fire you and bring in the next guy. So I think it's unfortunate that, a young player of his caliber who was drafted as high as he was, who has had to switch up coaches. Now, yeah, he's done some knucklehead 23-year-old stuff. We went to a party. Okay, 23-year-olds go to parties. But, we're in the throes of a global pandemic. You can't do it. It's a little irresponsible. I get it. Okay. But do you cut the guy after he's only been there, a year and a half? He hasn't even, you haven't given the guy necessarily a chance. You throw him out there as a rookie. You come in as a new staff, you put him on the bench, you play your own guy, you have your own system that you're bringing in, then that guy's not good enough, so then you throw him in there. I mean, it wasn't a conducive situation for anybody to grow. And so I don't think it's necessarily that young man's fault. That's why they're speculating there's going to be a lot of suitors for him. Your guy in Denver, Elway. I don't know if Elway would do that, but they were saying that that's the team that he could possibly.
I don't think that makes sense for Dwayne Haskins. I think Dwayne Haskins has to go to a team that has an established quarterback. One that comes to mind, the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you think, all right, we'll get one more year out of Ben Roethlisberger, we'll give him that opportunity. where you can come in, he can have an established framework, an organization that is stable. There's a solid quarterback in front of him. Because I think it would just be messy if he goes into a situation in Denver where we already have Drew Lock, which next year is going to be his final year to prove it. And when you look at the Denver Broncos, they'll run it back with Drew Lock and company and say, all right, we've invested so much in this offense with the first round picks and the skill players. That will be Drew Lock's year. So I don't think, that would be a good scenario for Dwayne Haskins, because also I don't think it's a quarterback that's necessarily going to be able to push Drew Lock in that situation. So a team with a veteran starter and a stable organization, that feels like what Dwayne Haskins needs right now.
Yeah. Does he go to Belichick? Does Belichick get it because he's cheap and he's off the pile? You're talking about a top 15 player who's drafted and he's only 23 years old. And, but the older veteran coaches, a lot of times they like developed guys. They like to bring in, and it depends on the coach and who's running the team. If it's the front office that's running the players, or if it's the coaches that are running the players. It just depends on what that, what the structure is at that particular team. So he's a young guy. He's 23 years old. I mean, how do you throw a guy on the scrap heap after a year and a half?
Well, it's can he play or not, right? You're making good points with the challenges that he faced within the organization. But he also didn't take advantage of the opportunity. And when you're in that challenging situation where all right, maybe these guys aren't quite on my side, you give them a reason to move on, like he did with that incident, showing up to the strip club partying. Because the thing that saved Dwayne Haskins for at least the last 2 weeks is that stuff came out before he went back to the facility. Because if he had gone back to that facility and then been in that quarterback room, we're talking about a team that then all of a sudden has 3 quarterbacks on the COVID reserve list, and then they're having to start a practice squad quarterback moving forward. So he's lucky that all that stuff came out. Yeah, he got pounded for it, but before going back to the facility and then making it even worse on everyone else. But to your point on quarterbacks, that's why we see Ryan Fitzpatrick, a Mike Glennon, a Blaine Gabbert, guys that so many people are wondering, wait, how are these guys still playing? How do they still have a position? Because they've been there, done that. And to your point on coaches, you don't see a lot of young guys bouncing around. Dwayne Haskins is now Josh Rosen, and Josh Rosen didn't get a fair deal, but how's he going to get another shot? When you look at what happened with Josh Rosen in Arizona,
Steal by Davino Lovato, and here comes Agbaiosi, lob, two-hand hammer. You knew that was coming. Out the lob, tagged by Osi, the one-hand hammer.
Put up. And a drive from Palm.
Creates space. He gives it off to Rivas for the 3, and he buries it.
Billy coming in soon. Double kick set for Avalos. Goes to the right. Avalos puts it up high. Window. Scores it as foul.
shot here by Lewis all the way, coast to coast, and finish.
What a...
Around the screen, against White, step back, it's blocked! JB with the block!
In transition, ahead to hit on for the two-hand hammer.
Minutes to go, they've got a shot, they have a chance, and it's put up, and it's good! What a three that is by Jalen.
Hidon puts it up.
Rebound Cowboys. Right side David Hall. Thank you very much. Here come the Cowboys. Lamina Lovato lays it up. Missed it. Hey, how about it? Thank you, Lusses. Thank you very much, Raquan Mitchell. Clock at 6. They get it. Barnes Tompkins fires. Yes! Pass up court. This for the win. Blocked by DJ Bustos. Cowboys win. Cowboys win.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities.
Next for Dwayne Haskins, the messy ending in Washington as they are in a win and you're in game for the NFC East title. Sunday Night Football, Washington and Philadelphia.
For New Mexico's coaches, be a great coach by coaching beyond the game. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
It's his second field goal. He's got 4 points. Watson, though, goes all the way.
Hit the deck, I should say. Cordova trying to throw it off. Romero, a 3 for...
Set out to Jutapia. Nice move behind his back. It's a good... Here's Ramos, step back, high arcing,
but he needed to get his legs back under him.
Ooh, little kick.
They leave it one more time. Two-hand hammer.
Look at this, they're going to score again. Look at this.
Up top. Yes, and the finish for Akbayosi. Saved into the hands of Riak, ahead of the pack. Davina Lovato up high, down hard for Akbayosi. Out of the corner, Casals, the 3-0, Katenge! Let me clean up the mess! He dropped out of the rafters for that one, Steve.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
They got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides looking, still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
Third and 6. Big defensive play coming up here. Little trickery to Reese. See you later. Touchdown. They went for the deep ball to Reese.
To the right, single receiver split to the left. Play fake, head up the middle, got some room. 50, 45, 40, has one man to beat. 30, 25, 10, 5, touchdown. Touchdown, Hope.
Wow.
On a
Option again, he'll keep it. Now he'll pitch it. Comes out to the 30, 25, 20, up the sideline. Still inbounds into the end zone. Let's see.
Touchdown.
Touchdown, Portell.
Davis in a play action, looking. He's gonna go back to Lewis, and Lewis makes a cut, and Lewis still on his feet. Dorian Lewis is in for a touchdown. So Davison back to toss it. He's got all day. It's one miss, and he's rolling. He's got a guy. Can he get it there? Davison to Luke Weissong.
We told you he
touchdown.
could spin that football, and that was a throw right there. I know he's got the win in his back, but
To shoot. They'll get one off, and it'll count high off the window.
Oh my gosh.
Here's the long 3.
Boom.
Bang. Martinez will beat the buzzer. Got it to go.
Or driving kick. Three's in the air. It's good. Nice pass on the nice block by Hernandez Crawford.
And Brown in the transition. But why not, Steve? Is Corbalon's going to go and he puts it away. And Corbalon wants to put it down. But here comes Screechers. Brown, you can't leave him alone. Put it down.
Gershon in transitions, 3-on-2. Gershon going to go all the way. Whoa, Morgan.
That ball stolen. Jeremy Segura.
Forward dribble, spin cycle, up and under move. What a pass, wrap around pass.
Harris with Gates. The long bomb, 3-ball.
Oh, great steal by Quinteros, lays it up and scores.
Cahola, a little jump step in the... And look out, here comes Agbayosi. Crawford set. That's blocked. Lansing says, get that out of here. Sister to sister, Marianne Lansing's going to go all the way. Turnaround. Ramos, pump fake, everyone bites. Ramos hits.
Jackson loses it. Jalen Bond back. LAU, put it down. Dunkalicious. How about it?
Lovato driving. They're going to count it. Gallegos. Ooh, a little spin and a finish. Natalia Chavez. Good spin. Takes it.
Here's Ramos. Nice jump stop to the...
Play with the gambling a little bit. Oh, there's a...
Oh, the wonderful world of doing this remotely. Some technical difficulties, but we roll on today. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the sports animal. Getting the job done. ProView guys stepping up. Might get back there at Radio Ranch. JJ Buck with you, joined by Ned James, J Pole, and Alden holding it down on ProView Networks. 246-0610 is the Quan's Auto Care hotline. You can email the show, JJ at 610KNML.com. Last night's Monday Night Football game, it really is what we expected. Buffalo is that much better than New England at this point in time. But what it was a moment in time that it just reinforced Buffalo is the team that is the biggest threat to Kansas City in the AFC. And for Bill Belichick, the Patriot way, it has to start anew. it can't be the same old Patriot way because you don't have a quarterback that is leading you to the AFC Championship game. You don't have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. A lot of work to be done. And for Cam Newton, I think we've seen the end of Cam Newton as a starting quarterback in the NFL. It is incredibly hard, as we've talked about, to find a position, to develop players. I think the future for Cam Newton in this league is going to be as a backup quarterback. He just doesn't have it anymore. The shot put, it's a wonky motion. He's not getting the football down the field. And it's a situation in which, New England does not have a lot of skill players. But even so, I don't think Cam Newton is getting him the football. And really what we've seen, it's 1 year. And the Patriots run was incredible. But it is a changing of the guard. Until Bill Belichick gets his next quarterback, this division is going to be run by Buffalo because they have the quarterback that is ascending, that is going towards his peak play, the steps that he has taken. And I know, Ned, you've talked about the real challenges that Bill Belichick and company has faced, but the reality of the situation is he's going to have to find a new Patriot way moving forward.
Yeah, these guys got to win a playoff game, though. Buffalo is going to the playoffs. They have not won a playoff game. And until they win a playoff game, they're still chasing New England. New England's not going to the playoffs this year. There'll be other teams in the playoffs. Buffalo's going to have to beat one of them. So once they beat one of them, Pittsburgh's going to be there. We know the Chiefs are going to be there, of course. It could be the Ravens. Could be, it's Cleveland. It could be, there's a lot of other teams that are there, but you got to beat one of those teams. And so once Josh Allen beats a playoff team, I will know that he has arrived. Lamar Jackson won MVP in the National Football League last year. He didn't win a playoff game. He still hasn't won a playoff game. So, before we start putting gold jackets on guys and putting them in the Hall of Fame, they got to win some playoff games. Josh Allen's running around like he's MVP, and that's fine. But you got to win some playoff games. You got to play against good teams in December and January and beat them in order to be solidified as a top-tier quarterback in the NFL. And Josh is on his way. We're expecting them to win. So we'll see. I like the upside of Josh Allen now a little bit more than I did before. I still think, sometimes guys will regress. He's had the fortune of having the same offensive coordinator his entire career there in Buffalo. And so that has helped. I think a lot of other guys have had to switch up coordinators. I think Dabo's been there, 2-3 years now, right, with Josh Allen. So it helps when you have consistency. A lot of these other guys haven't had consistency. Lamar Jackson's had consistency. And so the more consistent you have, more consistency you have within your program, the better you're going to do. We got under Dwayne Haskins a little bit, but I think Josh Allen's been fortunate enough in his development to have those kind of people around him that are able to ensure that once he takes a step back, that they can put him right back on track. And we'll be able to see. Buffalo's defense has played well. The addition of Oliver has really helped them on that defensive line when they lost one of their better players on that defensive front. But we're going to see when the playoffs start. They came out like gangbusters last year in the playoffs, and unfortunately were beaten by Houston. So I'm curious to see how they do once the playoffs start. I like the upside of Josh Allen, though. He's getting better and better, and his passing percentage, that's incredible, going from where he's been to 68% this year. We're gonna be excited once we see him win a playoff game. If there's a chance that they could take that next step and get to a divisional playoff round or get to a AFC Championship game. And he has a chance to go to the Super Bowl, then that's when we'll be able to tell if he's going to be a great quarterback or not.
Yeah, and that is the prove-it place in the NFL, is doing it in the postseason. Now, speaking of quarterbacks that need to prove it, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray in the NFC West. We were ready for a Week 17 showdown, but instead, are you ready for Chris Streveler and John Wolford because those could be the quarterbacks taking the field in an NFC West battle with teams trying to make the playoffs. Jared Goff is out. Broken right thumb, surgery yesterday. He is not playing. So it is Chris Streveler, who played at the University of Minnesota, played in the CFL. He is the backup. No, that is the backup quarterback for Arizona. Excuse me. John Wolford is the backup for the LA Rams. You want to talk about coaches having to put in work. It is getting ready for a must-win football game with two backup quarterbacks that each have thrown 0 passes in the NFL.
Yeah, but with these quarterbacks being in the quarterback room, you know, I was going to say this earlier too. Do you know who Chad Henne is?
Yeah, backup in.
Yeah, but do you know where he played college football at?
Michigan.
Played at Michigan, yeah. Now, did he play in the 70s or did he play in the 80s? Because Chad Henne, to me, seemed like he played at Michigan before Brady played there. And so I was just shocked when I heard his name come out as the backup quarterback at Kansas City. Now, these backup guys that are in the league for ages, it's amazing to me. Some coaches really like to have, you know, these veterans that have been around for a long time that have never really been starters, and some like these young rookies or CFL castaways to be their backups. And so that's why it's interesting to see the Rams game. Wofford and I don't know who the kid is for Arizona. If Kyler Murray, I have a feeling Kyler Murray is probably going to play. But it should be interesting because they're playing for, you know, a wild card berth in the playoffs. It's getting to the playoffs. The Rams, I just cannot believe with that defense that they've fallen as far as they've fallen. But I would like to see the Rams in the playoffs. But for some reason, I got a sneaky suspicion Arizona's going to squeak in there because I don't think Kyler Murray's going to be. If he knows if he knows the Rams starting quarterback is not going to be there, I believe he's going to try and play. I know he's got a lower leg injury. I think somehow he's going to muster the strength to come out and try to work and try to play and try to get him into the playoffs. He was the first overall pick. So unless it's something that's career-threatening, I think he's going to try to give it a shot to help his team get into the playoffs. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. I'm always fascinated hearing these names of these backup quarterbacks, Chase Daniels and some of these guys around the NFL who are getting in late in the season. But these guys that are trying to get their teams into the playoffs, and they've never taken a single snap in the NFL game. And they're coming from these, you know, obscure programs in college. It's always fun to see. You know, you never know where the next Kurt Warner is going to come from, or some guy who's going to eventually be a star in the NFL after taking over from an injured starter.
Yeah, and the thing with Chad Henne and the Kansas City Chiefs is they have the number 1 seed locked up. So that is why he's getting an opportunity to play as opposed to an injury in a must-win game. Arizona is optimistic that Kyler Murray plays in that football game. If not, it is going to be 3 yards and a cloud of dust type football game between Arizona and the Rams as both those teams are trying to get into the NFL playoffs. It is hard to find a quarterback, and it's even harder when you have a quarterback and you lose him due to injury at any point in the season, but especially when you go into week 17 with all that is on the line. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by Ned James this morning for Stiffson. We had a little post-New Mexico vacation. He's back with us next week. So a little time to breathe for Jeff after the work that they put in getting that game together as bowl season rolls on. Today, we'll touch on the matchup. Interesting one today with the 2 bowl games, especially with all the opt-outs that we've seen from the players in these teams. But Mike holding it down at Radio Ranch. We got J. Pole and Eldon on the ProView side. It's OD right here on The Sports Animal.
Got the second. The middle. Here we go. 3.9. It's Cooper's going to run with it. Cooper's going to swing it out to Lowry. Lowry. Portillo couldn't get it off, and Clovis goes in. It's waved off. He did not get it off in time. Portillo. Reverse layup.
coming from.
Lazy pass. Here comes Crawford. It might be showtime.
Played over to Madrid. Plays it across the box off the dasher. It's settled. Shot up by Garcia. Trickles in. Goal.
Chavez blocked at the rim. And here's Dorian Lewis to Watson.
Shot on and just wide. Big deflection. Goal.
Over this first field goal. Look at that. That's gorgeous.
Not a game you can go have 25 turnovers in and win.
Get that out of here, Watson says.
Here comes Hodnett all the way. He's blocked in return.
Dickey, did he get it off? He did, and he hit it. They're really Oliveras. Wild three, and it hit.
Another steal nearly by Hiron. It is a steal. Avalos ahead to Hiron. The two-hand hammer by Hiron. I knew he was going to put that one down.
ProView Networks tonight.
District matchup there.
Davidson took it away in transition. Might be time for a jam. Yes.
Oh! Big Barton, watch him, coach. Watch the inbounder.
Dumas Sanchez in the corner.
Back to Barton with 2.4 seconds left. Fires for the win.
And he got it!
It's good.
Oh my God!
On the last second shot.
He did.
Oh my God! Bakes it in from 25 feet and watch the celebration right in front of us. What a shot by Barton. He was double teamed and somehow found a way to get it in. Ramos to Gaxiola, high window for the win. It's good. It counts. Gaxiola with the game winner for a Driscoll Heritage.
Melfi can cash it in. He's got some protection. Deep ball. Erickson's open. Touchdown, Monarchs.
Second and 10. Smith looking, and he's going to fire over the middle, and he's got his guy. And it's another big play. Walking away for a touchdown, Tristan Altier.
Hand it off to Chavez. Chavez breaking tackles. Look out. Chavez up the sideline. Stays in bounds. Touchdown. Volcanovic.
That replay.
I
Just
got
get
you.
the measurement. I mean,
Smith's got a fire on first down, and he's on the outside. There's a lot of room for Brad Thomas. A move, and he's set free. Dance into the end zone. Touchdown. So it goes.
He'll run with it. Stumbling. Gets down into the end zone. And looking to throw it. And he throws it in the end zone. Caught!
First and 10 from the 11. And spin move for Smith. Push the B button. Dance into the end zone.
Throw it. Looking. comes the rush, stepping up. Pavia now running around. Being chased, looks across, throws it up, and wide open.
Tuesday, ProView coming in clutch, dealing with some technical difficulties, but we continue to stay on the air. What it do? It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. J-Pole and Alden, Micah working together, the magic of the interwebs to get us through this time. JJ Buck joined by Ned James this morning. The best way to get in touch with us right now, send me an email, jj@610knml.com. Hit me up on Twitter _JJ Buck, your thoughts. The Aggies' 21-game win streak coming to an end as they are outscored 8-0 in the final minute 43 as they lose at Cal State Northridge 66-63. Yesterday, that was their first Division I game played of the season after a 27-day layoff. The last game they played was December 1st, and they had some COVID issues in their program. And then they were just trying to schedule a game, and Saturday, Cal State Northridge stepped up. So this game was scheduled on Saturday. They travel from Phoenix to Northridge, play yesterday afternoon, looked good for 38 minutes, and then in the clutch, looked like a team that hadn't played a Division I basketball game yet this season. So the challenges involved there are nothing new. We'll hear more from Paul Weir later today as he's scheduled to meet the media. How are the Lobos responding after a rough, very bad week in Boise, back-to-back games against the Broncos, in which it was not good for Lobo basketball. To the back in Lubbock, they'll host Nevada Thursday at Lubbock Christian University. Lobo women back on the court. That's actually a 3 o'clock game on Thursday. They're at Nevada. So Mountain West play starts for the women, continues for the men. So we'll have more to react to with Paul Weir. But Ned, when we speak of college athletics during this time, the real challenges, especially in college football, and some teams played 11 games, some teams played 4 games, etc. But one Dabo Swinney, head coach at Clemson University, he's good. He has elevated his program to elite status. And I have been one where I don't buy everything Dabo is selling. I think he's a coach at times that definitely can't get out of his own way. But the one thing that he is really pushing prior to this game, and he is not worried about bulletin board material, extra edge to an opponent, is he ranked Ohio State 11 in the coaches poll. And his reasoning is pretty good. Now let's talk about why Dabo Swinney ranked Ohio State the 11th best team in college football in his opinion. And he said, quote, "There's no question OSU is good enough to beat us, to beat any of these 4. But he didn't think it was right that teams like Texas A&M, OU, Florida, and Cincinnati got punished because they played more games." So a situation where Dabo Swinney's all in on his take. I'm fine with that, and he's backing it up. But it's a fascinating scenario when we look at coaches when it comes to players, right? And Juju Smith-Schuster, for an example, doing his dances pregame, and he'd go to midfield on the logo. We saw that happen. And then after the fact, if you didn't perform, then people would view that as, oh, it was just extra motivation for opponent. But here we have a head coach that puts bulletin board material out there, continues to back it up, talking down Ohio State. Now, if you're a Clemson fan, you probably love it. You're all in behind Dabo Swinney. But it is an interesting dynamic that when these coaches sit there and tell their players all the time to button it up, don't give anyone else any material, that Dabo Swinney, yes, he's confident in his team, but he is very, very happy to tell you and remind you, anyone that asks, even if you don't ask, if you have a microphone, he'll let you know Ohio State didn't play enough games, and Ohio State shouldn't be in this situation, and they get to play Ohio State on Friday.
Okay, I'm an old man, JJ, so I'm a little bit more cynical than you are as far as I think you're giving Dabo a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, which as when you get a little bit older, you'll realize that, things aren't always as they seem. With Dabo, and I'm going to go way out there, so everybody try to stay with me. I know people listening to this show always say, boy, that Ned is just, he's on one today. But I'm going to be on one again when it comes to Dabo in the South. This is definitely, in my opinion, because I've lived in the Deep South, Southern strategy. This is all about the fact that we are the South. Y'all, this is the Civil War again. Those Yankees up north in Ohio and New York and Los Angeles, they don't know how hard we work down here in the South. See, when y'all was worried about the COVID, we was down here, y'all, playing
football.
And y'all's up there, worrying about the old COVID. But what Dabo is doing is trying to give himself an out. He wins either way. Either way, in one regard, he becomes the Southern bravado. He's the Southern guy that through thick and thin, they're going to play football no matter what, no matter war, no matter famine, disease. We're going to play football in the Deep South. While you guys are up there worrying about, all the other things, we're down here playing football. And so he's saying that they were playing when we were worried about other things. The other thing, it gives them an out. If they lose, well, hey, they didn't play as many games as we did. No wonder they beat us. They were fresher than we are. They only played 5 games, and we had to play 11 games. So he's giving himself an out either way. But it also speaks to, in my opinion, to the whole I think the idea, the way he speaks, I'm listening to how Dabo's talking. It's all about this Southern bravado. It's all about, hey, it's the Deep South. We play football different down here, folks. We're the SEC. We're Southern football. We invented football. You guys don't know how to play up north and out west. That's how I see it. I don't see it any other way with Dabo. I think Dabo's playing this little game with giving himself an out. He knows he's got the better team. They're probably going to be favored to win over Ohio State. Ohio State's a formidable opponent. They could beat Clemson. It's not going to be just this rollover game, I think. I think it'll be an interesting game. Now, Clemson should win this game, but I do think Dabo's playing up to his.
He's playing to his fan base, and now they're ACC football, but Clemson has elevated themselves into that elite tier. Now I do agree with you. I think the one thing that Dabo Swinney has been so off about is the games played conversation, because this year, unlike any other, it is so hard to judge football teams. Ohio State did not play the same amount of games, but just because you played 11 games doesn't mean you played 8 great opponents. And it's the thing with Texas A&M. I'm so tired of hearing that Texas A&M was somehow shafted in this conversation just because they're an SEC football team. The SEC is not good outside of Alabama and Florida right now.
But JJ,
I'll Texas A&M. But everyone is still saying that they deserve more because they played SEC football. So that is going into your point, kind of what Dabo is doing. And I think that is a swing and a miss. In this whole conversation, he's having fun, taking shots at Ohio State. I think the biggest swing and miss in this situation is saying, hey, somehow we're better just because we played more games. When it wasn't always Ohio State's fault that they had a game canceled. Did they have issues arising in a program? Yes. But you're not a better football team just because some of your student athletes might not have gotten sick during a global pandemic. That is the one thing I just can't get behind in this conversation with Dabo Swinney. The playoffs are set. You're playing Ohio State. But just because you played more games doesn't make you a better football team. And we have the ultimate prove-it situation. You get to take the field against that team on Friday in the college football playoff semifinal. But that is the one thing, with anyone puts that out there, I can't wrap my head around. Like, you're not better just because you played 4 more games. You could have played 4 games against bad teams. It doesn't make you better.
But it gives them an out. It gives you an out if you lose. I think that's all it's about. I think Dabo wants an out if he happens to lose to Ohio State, because you can't get an out if you don't have a reason. I think that's all it's about. I think Dabo wants an out thinking about if he happens to lose to Ohio State. Justify, you have number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. You can't get an out. You get beat by those guys up north or out west. I think Dabo wants an out if he happens to get beat by the Northerners who don't know how to play football, because you have number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. You can't.
It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. Rolling along on a Tuesday. You can interact with the show, JJ at 610canamel.com. Find me on Twitter. It is _JJ We'll take this break, come back on the other side, continue the conversation, looking ahead to the college football playoffs, the NFL playoffs with so much on the line. Week 17, there are still 35 possible NFL wildcard scenarios, games that we could see. And we're going into week 17 with a backup quarterback in LA, a questionable tag on the quarterback, Kyler Murray in Arizona, and a must-win game in the NFC West. And if you go to the NFC East, Alex Smith, can he be the savior for the Washington football team, with still the Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants having a chance to win the division and go to the playoffs? It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
As Javi's looking, and he's got a guy wide open, and it's Gay, and he's gonna walk into the end zone. But he did a good job with it. First and goal, it's Chavez through the middle, and Chavez stops.
Stevens in motion. On the handoff to Mitchell. Look out! Oh, see you later. Take it to the house. Fly. Cardinals fly. To the other side. Provide some protection. And off to Webskowski again. Look out. See you later. Good night. Touchdown. Webskowski. He's going to fire to the end zone. Open man! Touchdown! Wildcats! Not a defender inside.
A little bit.
Webskowski on the sideline! Hasta mañana! He's off to the races! Touchdown! Clovis!
Albuquerque this afternoon.
34-24, Rancho, late in the third. How about this run? Nice play. Dickerman, he's still on his feet. Touchdown, Wolverine.
Exactly what they want to get yards.
He's going to go for it. He's got a guy towards the end zone. It's Krebs. Touchdown. What a play.
Long here for the Storm. Handoff to, we're going to fake the handoff, excuse me. Davidson on the deep ball. He's got some space, and it's caught! Still on his feet. Touchdown, Storm! Wow. Santa Maria!
And so they'll send one deep and returnable at the two. Usually Volcano do either a reverse or a fake reverse.
College coach to jump to the NFL. Sources are saying those sources to Adam Schefter of ESPN, that some NFL teams might be asking if Urban Meyer is interested in returning to coach, and that would be in the NFL. Is it Jim Harbaugh? Is it Urban Meyer, the next coach to the NFL? Of course, Jim Harbaugh has been there, done that. A lot of people feel he is an NFL guy more so than a college guy, given just how bad this season has been for Michigan, and he hasn't beaten Ohio State yet. It doesn't matter if you win 10 games a year at Michigan. If you don't beat Ohio State, you're not going to win everyone over. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by Ned James this morning. Michael holding it down at Radio Ranch. You got Jay Pole and Alden on the ProView side, putting in the work this morning. Quan's Auto Care hotline is 246-0610. We talk about quarterbacks. We talk about organizations, but you do need the head, the man at the helm, and that is the head coach. Urban Meyer, what is it about Urban that would have NFL teams interested in him right now?
Organizational skills. I think Urban's really one of those kind of guys that NFL executives really kind of appreciates, because he's a detail-oriented guy. He was able to take two different college teams, so he's able to adapt to different programs and styles and still be successful. So those are qualities that I think a lot of management teams and owners look forward to. But he's coming from the college ranks to the NFL. It's a totally different game. Sometimes it works. We've seen in history where guys that have been successful in college that have come to the NFL hasn't worked. Usually guys that come up through the ranks tend to fare a little bit better. Most guys that have coached in the NFL have coached in college at some point, so it's not too big a leap, but it is a leap in a lot of regards, particularly with dealing with players and contracts and guys who are, expected. They have a union, so you don't have as much dominion over them like they do in college, I believe. But Urban Meyer, I think he'd do well. I think he could do okay. I'm just a fan of Kelly at Notre Dame, and so I like him a lot more than I like a lot of the other guys, Harbaugh included. But it'll be interesting to see if he does get some feelers from some NFL teams. I think a lot of it, it may be his agent putting it out there that he's interested in some of these NFL jobs so that he may be able to get some other college jobs. I don't know. A lot of times, guys, especially a guy who's left the game and he's in the broadcast booth now, they'll send out flares through their agents to get feelers from different clubs to get maybe jobs that they're really shooting for. Maybe he's shooting for the SC job, or maybe he's shooting for the Texas job or something like that. But those guys seem to be that they're going to be there. So maybe he's getting antsy and not wanting to wait. And he's hearing that there's a lot of other NFL guys trying to get some of these NFL jobs that may open here soon. And so he's trying to get his name out there to get some interest, to drum up the salary, maybe drum up the pay. But that's about it, I think.
Yeah, and Adam Schefter said there were two NFL teams that reached out to Urban Meyer, and you're right. All right, it's like what's the play in this situation? Is Urban, trying to maybe get a little bit more out of his broadcast gig with Fox Sports? Is he eyeing a potential college job? Because he did have some health issues. That's really what we saw Urban Meyer step away from coaching, or his health issues. If he feels confident over that, you move on. But it's entirely different, as we know, being a head coach in the NFL than at the college ranks. And you said it. There is a player union in the NFL. These guys are pros. They handle things a lot differently than student athletes in college. And we have seen that's been the biggest struggle for a lot of these coaches that try to take that step, that goes straight from being a successful college head coach to an NFL head coach. We just haven't seen that same level of success. Now, when it comes to being a coordinator, coaching units, etc., we've seen a much more seamless transition. But being the head guy, being the one that has to determine discipline, organizations, etc. I think a big example is Chip Kelly when he went in and took over the Eagles, and he tried to bring in his philosophy. Hey, this is what I want you guys to do. This is what the cafeteria is going to look like. I want y'all to have these shakes, etc. And it ended up, he ended up doing too much micromanaging, and it didn't connect. Because if you can coach, you can coach, right? But there's something different. Being the head coach, you have a lot more responsibilities to a different extent than just being a coordinator or a position coach.
Right. And so taking on the task of professional players, and it's interesting because I've always talked to college guys, college coaches, a lot of guys that I really respect in the college game, and I've always asked them about, well, why don't you try, come coach in the NFL? Oh, I don't know how you do it, Ned. How do you coach somebody who makes more money than you do? A lot of guys do not want to coach a guy who makes more money than them. They don't want to coach and have to deal with those type of issues. And it's things as simple as that you have to be careful of when you're coaching professional athletes. They understand it's a business. They know it's their job. And the fact that you recognize that they make so much money, you have to be careful with that, because in that business, guys know what they make. They know their worth. They deserve it. You have to get over the fact that it's a lot of money, and you just have to keep pushing as far as how you coach. You have to coach a little bit different. I think Danny Gonzalez came on actually and talked about how he worked with Herman and Marvin up at Arizona State, and the style of coaching at practice, it was a lot different than what he was used to in coaching in college. And you have to, because you got a 53-man roster, and you have to have guys ready to play on Sundays. It's not about having guys on Monday through Saturday. You got to get them to the game, and so there's a different style of practice. I remember I never thought my first time in Tennessee, and I should have known better because I'd coached in the NFL for a while. I told my friends that we would never win a game in Tennessee because Steve McNair never practiced. I had never been on a team where a guy went 2 months. This guy went 2 months.
Practice.
Did not practice. He would ride the bike during practice. I'm like, how are we going to win a game? This guy never practices. They go, and then I talked to some of my buddies in Los Angeles. They go, Ned, you guys have Steve McNair. And I go, I don't care who this guy is. He never practices. But he was the most amazing guy. I mean, I've never seen a guy that could pick a ball up, without even stretching or doing any pregame warm-up and win a game for you in December in New York on Monday Night Football in the fourth quarter like Steve McNair could. I mean, the guy was incredible. God rest his soul. He was amazing from that standpoint. But, not everybody's like that. And you have to – certain guys are allowed. And it's amazing how quarterbacks and players – and that's the one thing coaches have a tough time with when they come from college to the pros – is the quarterback position, because those players have to respect that quarterback. I tell you what, if they don't respect that quarterback, you're going to have problems in your team. So, and that's one of the dynamics that I think a lot of college guys will struggle. They learn, they understand it. That's why I think Harbaugh was pretty good, because he played that position, so he knew the gym when he came from college to the NFL and coached. So he could do all right. But I like guys like Kelly who understand, who're smart. At Notre Dame, I think he can make the jump. Urban Meyer, I'm still the jury's out for me with him going into the NFL, but he seems like kind of a shyster, kind of slickster guy. So in my opinion,
shyster. Okay.
I think he's making a play for something else. I don't necessarily think he's playing. I think everybody's jealous of that $17 million that I really think was an overextension that the quarterback. The Cowboy quarterback got from Fox.
Is it Tony Romo or Troy Aikman?
Tony Romo's contract, it really opened everybody's eyes. Like, guys were like, are you kidding me? They think he's that good, an announcer, and they're going to give him 17. They got that kind of money in sports broadcasting. And so guys are trying to leverage any way they can. I think that's what Urban Meyer's probably trying to do. He's trying to leverage. I don't know if he wants to get back into this. Unless they're going to give him
Ned doesn't believe that Urban Meyer is a legitimate head coaching candidate. Right now, there are 3 openings in the NFL, and unfortunately for some coaches, there are going to be more at the end of the season, but still a huge hire when it comes to rebuilding your team. And is Urban Meyer someone that catches your attention if you're a fan of one of these teams with an opening? Detroit, Atlanta, and Houston open NFL jobs at this moment in time. JJ Buck with you, joined by Ned James, Mike holding it down at Jay Pohl and Alden on the ProView side. It is opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
I'm not your grandma. I don't knit sweaters for cats. And I don't drink your grandma's ginger ale. I drink New Canada Dry Bold Ginger with an extra kick of real ginger.
Shot out of a cannon! Rodriguez is going to take it all the way.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
I'll just get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what
Hill's gonna just shoot it.
He's going to go all the way.
He's gonna fire at the buzzer and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much.
Tie in the district. Inside. Fly. Eagles.
Chavez uses some athleticism. And then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds. And look at this. Stripped. Stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Couldn't have said that any better. He answered the question. He
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
Over the paint. Medina from the volleyball line. Medina wants another one from deep. Oh, he wants 10. Give him 10.
Lewis finds Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Cano Vista, but just all the different scenarios we could see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.
Oh! Ho, ho, ho.
Moreno extra pass. And Watson. Out with it, Gallegos, and he's going to run all the way. Window, yes! Able to get out of it. How did he find Battle? It's to Cunningham, and it...
I mean, Ramos was handling.
Ramos puts it up, beats the buzzer!
Boy, Jefferson wide open. Getting
Jefferson to Daraji! Into Watson with the jam!
steal by Domino Lovato. And here comes Agbaiosi. Lob, two-hand hammer. You knew that was coming. Lob, tagged by Osi, the one-hand hammer.
Put up. And a drive from Parham.
Living remotely, the remote life. It's been an interesting morning here on the opening drive. Mike is scrambling back there at Radio Red to get us on air. No one likes how the sausage is made. I get it, but let me tell you, the innards of this show, it's pretty good. When you got Alden, J. Paul, Josh, showing up, only 2 hours late. Nice for him to just stroll in there over there at ProView Network. So, but it's roll on, man. It's JJ Buck joined by Ned James, got Micah, the whole crew at ProView Network. So what it do, guys? Big shout out to J. Paul and Alden too, helping us get through a little technical difficulties at the top of this hour. So Hunter Green will join us tomorrow at 8:30. We'll catch up with the former Lobo, and that's a weird thing to say. Because you're always a Lobo. You're a former player, but you guys are always a Lobo. Hunter Green, of course, played back in the 80s. He's the analyst on the UNM Sports Radio Network alongside Robert Portnoy. So we're going to catch up with him tomorrow. Some of the challenges that we had behind the scenes today, we'll move to him. I'll catch up with him tomorrow at 8:30. And have some fun conversation talking basketball. But Ned, were you a guy, being a quarterback, what was the game you thought you could play? Were you a baseball guy? Did you say, hey, give me a basketball, I can go be a point guard? What was it for you?
My Little League coach, which is amazing, as old as I am, I still communicate with the guy I coached me in East LA. He was a good friend of mine for years. He's in his 80s now. We've always talked, and he's still mad at me to this day because he always thought I should go play baseball because I was a much better baseball player. I was a switch hitting. I could pitch, shortstop, athletic, all those things. And most people from that generation were baseball fans. Football was not, even though people liked football, baseball was the more glamorous sport when I was coming up in the 70s and 80s. And so he really thought I was a really good baseball player. I did play baseball all throughout Little League, middle school, high school. But then my senior year in high school, I didn't play. I played for probably half the season, and then I left the team and got a job because I wanted to go to the prom, senior prom or something like that. And he was just, and we had a really good baseball team, high school baseball team. And so, but I had played quarterback. And so once you play quarterback, it's just one of those things where you just automatically, you just draw into that sport because of that position. And we talked a little bit about it yesterday with C.J. Beathard. I tried to talk C.J. C.J.'s playing in the NFL now. And I tried to talk him into playing baseball because he was an all-state baseball player in Tennessee. And they won a state championship in baseball at the high school where I coached him his senior year in football. But he was I told him, and this was my mistake, because I had just finished coaching with the Titans, and then I went over and coached the high school. I was in between jobs. And when I was working with him, I said, boy, you throw just as good as the NFL guys. And that was all she wrote. Like he said, when I talked to him, he said, when you told me that I could throw like NFL guys, he says, there was no turning back for me for football because everybody, a lot of people were telling him to go play baseball because the guy had 90-mile-an-hour fastball in high school. I mean, he was getting drafted and everything. And he decided that he wanted to go play college football. And he was going to Ole Miss, and they rescinded the scholarship. And then, they didn't rescind the scholarship. They wanted him a gray shirt or something because they got a new coaching staff.
He played at Iowa, right?
He eventually signed with Iowa. And so, but the baseball thing with me was, it was always my first love. I could walk to Dodger Stadium from where I lived. And so that was one of the greatest joys of my life, was scalping tickets and getting chased out by security guards for sneaking into games. And you know, some of those stories I tell my friends
things you
nowadays.
could do back in the day, and
Yeah,
not quite.
felony.
Yeah, not quite able to sneak into the same venues that you could as a kid. But all it takes is one thing. For CJ Beathard, it was one Ned James saying, you know what, you might be pretty good at this quarterback thing. You throw like some NFL guys I've been around, and he chases that dream. There's a couple guys on this Louisville basketball team that could use one of those confidence boosters. We'll talk with Hunter Green tomorrow, 8:30, about this Louisville basketball team. We'll hear more today from Paul Weir. So we'll get you an update on what's going on with the program, how the coaching staff is reacting. So we'll have that for you, of course, the afternoon show. Sports ball guys will have that for you, and then we'll be able to play some Paul Weir stuff tomorrow as they get ready to play Nevada on Thursday. So Steve Alford and the Wolfpack coming to play at New Mexico, but the game's in Lubbock, Texas, because it's how you handle 2020 right now in the state of New Mexico. When we come back, top of the hour, special guest potentially joining us here on the opening drive. You won't want to miss it, because I think y'all are the reason. Well, he is the reason y'all enjoy us so much in the morning. JJ Buck, Ned James, got Micah, J. Pole, and Alden holding it down on the ProView side. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Good morning, I'm Juan Velasco. It is time for our sweet deal. We're on with Colleen, and we're talking about one of my favorite.
Pavlos puts it up high window, scores it as foul. Right here by Lewis, all the way, coast to coast, and finish. What a...
Around the screen, against White, step back, it's blocked! JB with the block!
In transition, ahead to hit on for the two-hand hammer.
Minutes to go. They've got a shot. They have a chance, and it's put up, and it's good. What a three that is by Jalen.
Hito puts it up. Rebound Cowboys. Right side David Hall. Thank you very much. Here come the Cowboys. Lamina Lovato lays it up. Missed it. Hey, how about it? Thank you, Lusses. Thank you very much, Raquan Mitchell. Clock at 6. They get it. Barnes Tompkins fires. Yes! Pass up court. This for the win. Blocked by DJ Bustos. Cowboys win. Cowboys win.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
second field goal. He's got 4 points. Watson, though, goes all the way.
Hit the deck, I should say. Cordova tried to throw it off Romero. A 3 for
Set out to Jutapia. Nice move behind his back. It's a good. Here's Ramos. Step back. High arcing. Twine.
But he needed to get his legs back under him.
Ooh, a little kick.
They leave it one more time. Two-hand hammer. Up top. Yes, and the finish for Akbayosi. Saved into the hands of Riak ahead of the pack to Davina Lovato. Up high, down hard for Akbayosi. Out of the corner, Casals, the 3-0, Katenge! Let me clean up the mess! He dropped out of the rafters for that one, Steve.
Spider's senses were tingling. He could tell what was going on. Something was happening with the opening drive today. Swooping in to save the day, the one, the only, Jeff Symbieta. He is on with us right now. The dude in his week away was like, you know what? Let's play some radio. JJ Buck joined by Ned James. We got Micah. We got Alden and Jay Pole. It is a full cast of characters. What it do? Jeff, what's up, man? How are you?
What up? I was just jonesing a bit. You guys all right?
We are doing okay. It's a crazy day, as you know how it can happen when you're doing this remotely. But I could tell your spider senses had to be tingling, and you're like, you know what? I think I need to give a boost to the opening drive today.
No, that's not really how that worked. But now you guys are actually killing it. Just jonesing a bit, working, and had to come in here and take it for another golf performance. And just, I got a text from my buddy in San Diego. He's like, "What? You're not 2 weeks in a row?" And I'm like, "All right, I got to jump on." And I miss my show a little bit. Ned, my buddy's like, "Who's this Ned guy?" And I'm like, "He's a SoCal guy. He's good, man. He's all right. You know, played about our era in the Valley, and he's all right." So, yeah, man, just my use it or lose it week. So I slept in a touch. I past the normal time, and now I'm working, paying bills, and trying to collect a couple dollars and clean up everything. And just missed you guys, so I wanted to say what's up.
I was looking for you on the side. I was looking for you on the sideline at the New Mexico Frisco Bowl. Every time they flashed the camera, you wouldn't jump in front of it, so I was a little disappointed.
I was fully masked 100% of the time there in Frisco Kirky. First half, my bald head was there. Spent the first quarter on that TV side. Came over to the Hawaii side for the second time. Most of the fourth quarter, I was on that far side, but wearing a beanie because it got a little chilly. Not like Albuquerque chilly, it was more Frisco Kirky chilly. But just trying to stay a little warm. It was what a crazy day that was, man. What a crazy day.
Game.
It was somewhat, I don't want to say predictable because it's not fair to say that, but I've been doing this for 15 years, and Ned, you get this probably, well, JJ, you do too, because you've heard me talk about it. You get an idea as a bowl director who wants to be there, who's playing out the stretch, and who it really means something to. And probably 85% of the time, even if a team's a big underdog, and we saw it early when like Wyoming, Colorado State beat those heavily favored Fresno State teams in our third and fourth years. The team who really wants it, who it means more to, is the team that wins. And certainly Hawaii, neither team was at full strength, but Hawaii, I think it just meant a lot to them. They felt that they had something to prove, and it was a tough season for Houston. They missed so many games. They were without so many players, and in retrospect, it was the winner was fairly predictable.
Yeah, when it first popped up last week, and the number they were 13-point underdogs to Hawaii, and I just thought that was crazy. It was a crazy number.
Did it drop all the way down to 9.5?
It did.
It go all the way down? Yeah.
By the time, of course, they got to kick off on Christmas Eve, but I just thought that was a wild number. To your point, the struggles that Houston has had, and then the story early in the week that popped up as well, and they're like, yeah, we might have like 15 to 20 guys that forgot that they still had to do school this semester, and they weren't for that reason.
Yeah, and I don't know the validity of that. So, I was talking to their athletic director, Chris Pesman, right before the game, and I said, so what's the story? He says, that's BS. He says, that's just not right. We're without a bunch of guys, and so I just didn't dive into it. Not that he was going to tell me, and that's fine. So I don't know the validity of that. I do know, I was really looking forward to seeing Marquez Stevenson, their NFL caliber wide receiver. I think he's terrific. But Calvin Turner, the little guy, how about his story? He was playing at Jacksonville. He was an FCS guy a year ago. Yeah. Jacksonville shut down their program, and the young man said to me right after the game, he said, man, I got a chip on my shoulder, sir. He says, last year I was an FCS player, and nobody thought I could play, and now, he's got a shot to play in the league. I was on the sideline before the game talking to some of the Hawaii coaches, and they were talking about Marquez Stevenson, the receiver from Houston. And I said, well, who's your best chance for the league? And he pointed right there. He says, number 7. I said, all right. And boy, number 7 put on a show. I mean, Calvin Turner, he was special that day. Yeah, he was special.
He was. He was a good player. I saw that story during the course of that game, and I thought, man, this kid is really. And I've heard that program. I mean, they recruited Tennessee when I lived in Tennessee, so I knew about Jacksonville State, and they get good players. And so when I saw him playing, I thought, yeah, well, they got a good player. Hawaii got him to go over to the Rock. That's pretty good. That's pretty good recruiting.
Yeah, and what was really, I don't know if it should be surprising because Todd Graham's a defensive guy. What they did defensively, look at the pressure that they were able to put on Clayton Tune, the quarterback of Houston. What I think it was 5 sacks. They were there all day, 3 interceptions. 2 of them were tip interceptions. Darius Musa was terrific. I just what Hawaii did defensively to a Houston team that probably out-athleted them was pretty impressive. And Todd's got something going. And this was. And you guys will get this as far as the recruiting, right? Todd Graham's from right there in North Texas. He started as a high school coach in North Texas. He was home. And they recruit there. He's got a quarterback he thinks he's signing in February that he thinks is going to be something pretty special. And for them to come win on the mainland on Christmas Eve, where we were the only game, it meant a lot to that program. For Houston's been in the national spotlight now. What was it? It feels like yesterday, but it was about 4 years ago where Houston was that group of 5 team that was banging on the door and was hoping to get that New Year's 6 game. Hawaii really feels like they've got an opportunity to build something. And I don't know how long Todd Graham's going to be there. Ned, he jumps around like crazy, but he seems like he's in a place where maybe he was humbled a little bit. And I'll tell you what, he's pretty chill. I mean, I've met Todd before, and this was a different dude that I dealt with this week, and he was actually really, really cool and really chill. This was a big deal for that program, and I'm going to tell you, for this league, I heard you guys talking the other day on the Mountain West is 2-0 in bowl games. Mountain West is 2-0 against the AAC. Which I think is just as relevant as anything else. And with all this Boise State to the AAC talk and everything else, and you had Nevada putting a pretty good beat down on Tulane. Hawaii handled Houston pretty well. The significance of that isn't lost on me either.
Yeah, it's one you definitely have to take the positives where you can find them this season, and it's, as you know, more as well as anyone, this bowl season has been wild, and it's gotten to game week. Games have been canceled, teams have had issues come up, and so if you're able to finish on a high note, you absolutely take it and run, and especially the AAC, and it's a conversation we've been having all year long. There is this perception naturally, somehow, some way, the AAC has positioned themselves as the conference that is better than the rest. Now, it's 5 of the last 6 that they have put a team into a New Year's 6 bowl game, which, all right, that is fair. But when it comes to it head-to-head, you start breaking it down, I think these leagues are a lot more comparable than one Brian Harsin might like to admit, but he doesn't have to worry about anymore. Yeah. So he's better victories like this, like victories in bowl games, those are the things you start adding to that list and saying, okay, you want to keep talking this way? Well, look, we have this in response.
Yeah, and I think the reason that there's that perception, is they're way better at promoting themselves, right? And they're in bigger media centers in the eastern part of the country that the people are listening. But the fact is, and you just said it, what is it, 5 out of the last 6, they've been the group of 5 representative, and they've done it with multiple teams, where I think when people look at the Mountain West, they think it's only Boise State. San Diego State made a run, but they would lose a game, they'd stub their toe. Fresno State made a run that year, they stubbed their toe. So nobody else really in the Mountain West has made that serious run to are you all right over there?
Yeah, I think
did he fall? What the hell? But you've got, between Central Florida, Memphis, Houston, and Cincinnati, you've got multiple teams. And I think that's why the perception, and it's fair, that you've had multiple programs make a run towards a New Year's Six Bowl. And I think that's where the perception comes from, that and the self-promotion. And that's fair. Somebody else besides Boise State has to get there. San Diego State, Fresno State have made their runs, but they haven't got there. Utah State was that 11-2 team. That Utah State, that was the year, JJ, they almost beat Michigan State in the opener, and then they lost by 1 possession to Boise State, and then came down here and beat North Texas in the New Mexico Bowl.
Yeah, and to your point on defense too, in this league, we focus on quarterback play. It's the high profile position, but that's also how San Jose State won this league this season. They played better defense than everyone else this year, and that was evident in that Mountain West title game. And then that's a side of the football that you can get dudes in this league that can play good defense.
Yeah, I told you this last week. I'd like to see San Jose State get a shot to play, Cincinnati, Coastal, Liberty, those teams, even BYU. I think San Jose State is as good as any of those other group of 5 champions, and they're going to get a shot at one of them at Ball State. And if they lose, then I'll sit here and say, all right, well, I was wrong. But don't you just what they do defensively, and they've got a quarterback who can get it down the field. They've got a couple of receivers who can stretch it. I think San Jose State is the most underappreciated undefeated team. There's only 4 undefeateds left. It's like Cincinnati and them and Ohio State and Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. I'd love to see them, get a shot. Now they play Ball State in the Arizona Bowl, and they, good for them, and they're going to be on CBS, and they've got a shot to showcase their program. But to me, that's the kind of stuff that's got to happen for and a consistent basis. They can't go back to being, 3-9 again next year. It's important for programs to sustain, and that's what will do something for this league. In a normal year, if they'd have played out, and remember, that's a team that went on the road, beat an SEC team last year. Last year they won at Arkansas. In a normal year, they'd be knocking on the door and having an argument, with Cincinnati and Coastal about who should get into the New Year's Six.
Yeah, and speaking of consistency in this league, of course, Boise State's looking for a new head coach, and we know that they like to keep it in the family. I wanted to bounce this off you. What do you think about Kellen Moore in that situation?
I love it, and I love Kellen Moore. I've known the family since Kellen was 4 or 5 years old. I am such a big fan of his dad, Tom Moore, who was a great high school coach in Central Washington. I just think Kellen is exemplary. I'm just a big Kellen Moore fan, and if he wants to go do that, I think he will succeed. I think he succeeds based on who he is as a player and who he is as an individual. I think he's become a nice coach at the NFL level. I just, again, there's always, I've talked about this for so many years. There's something about a coach's kid, no matter what sport it is, right? We talked about a guy who plays basketball. He's got that sense. And I told you, I was at the Moore household in Prosser, Washington when Kellen was 5 years old, when his dad won his second championship at Prosser High School. And Kellen was drawing up plays, and I was just what a great kid at the time, and then watched him excel through the ranks. I don't know who would be a better choice. What are the other names up for that job? What else are you hearing?
They threw out Andy Avalos, who's an Oregon DC. He played at Boise State, so has a tie to that staff. And him and Kellen Moore are the two that I've seen out there, kind of the high-profile names early.
What do you think of Kellen? I mean, because to me, I just don't know how they do any better than that.
Yeah, I think it checks, both boxes. They keep it kind of what's worked for them, having that Boise State connection. He's got a great resume working in the NFL environment, working with players like that, and then you can bring that along with his collegiate resume, which, his, I think, age resume to this point in time, I think that would be a strong suit for them. in recruiting as well, kind of coming in
Well, it's
like,
also-
hey, I've been there, done that. I've won at a high level. Oh, by the way, I've been in the NFL. So
Yep. I think that's the key too, right? It's I know what it takes to get to the NFL. I've been a coach there. I've been a coordinator at that level. I know what they're looking for. I can help you get there. No, I think, that's the Harbaugh piece that didn't really work there. But I think it's such a big piece when guys go back, and I think Kellen's grounded enough. Just again, I haven't talked to Kellen in a bunch of years, but just knowing his upbringing and the young man that he was, if he's still that same man, and I think he probably is, I think he's ideal for that position. I just don't know how they do any better.
Yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense too, especially with everything else that's going on. They still need an athletic director. They probably need to have all that smoke settled down. From the fan base was up in arms behind Brian Harsin, and now they're like, hey, I think we're going to stay in the Mountain West for a while. Just figure things out. Be all right.
Brian Harsin's got there's no honeymoon now. Brian Harsin's got to go beat Nick Saban.
That's right.
Like as good as he got paid and good for him, and he's pretty verbose and likes himself a lot. By the way, he just got his fanny paddled in a championship game by who? Oh, wait. San Jose State. These programs that he's way better than. San Jose State just kicked his ass in the championship game, and all he could do is blow it. Then they backed out of a bowl game. Man, we don't want to play. We're better than this league. Man, let me just tell you, like it's put up time. There is no honeymoon period when you're at Auburn. It's win now, and those people down there are going to have no tolerance for any of his crap.
None.
He'll make a lot of money and go home fast if he doesn't win down there.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And then he'll fall back, and maybe he can get a job in the American where he thinks it's so great. After that, in 3-4 years, he can be at Houston, or he can be at Tulsa or something like that. Good for him.
Well, Jeff, are you one and done? Because you got to get back. Well, what's the scenario here as we get ready for break?
Well, if you need me for another one, I'm here. I don't mean to usurp all your time. I just wanted to check in.
Not at all. It has been one of those mornings where it is refreshing to hear your voice, especially, how it is sometimes, man, working remotely and going through the challenges. We'll keep it going. Jeff Symbieta joining us because, it is also his show, Opening Drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal.
Nobody covers the NFL like these.
As Javi's looking, and he's got a guy wide open, and it's Gay, and he's going to walk into the end zone. But he did a good job with it. First and goal, it's Chavez to the middle, and Chavez stops.
And Stevens in motion. On the handoff to Mitchell. Look out! Oh, see you later. Take it to the house. Fly. Cardinals fly. To the other side. Provide some protection. And off to Webskowski again, look out! See you later, good night! Touchdown, Webskowski! An 8. 2 receivers at the top. Harris has all day. He's gonna fire to the end zone. Open man! Touchdown! Wildcats! Not a defender inside.
A little bit.
Webskowski on the sideline. Hasta mañana. He's off to the races. Touchdown, Clovis.
Albuquerque this afternoon.
34-24. Rancho late the third. How about this run? Nice play. Dickerman. He's still on his feet. Touchdown, Wolverine.
Exactly what they want to get yards.
He's going to go for it. He's got a guy towards the end zone. It's Krebs. Touchdown. What a play.
And long here for the Storm. Handoff to, we're going to fake the handoff, excuse me. Davidson on the deep ball. He's got some space, and it's caught. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Storm. Wow. Santa Maria.
And so they'll send one deep and returnable at the 2. Usually Volcano do either a reverse or a fake reverse, and here it is a reverse. And a move to the outside. There is a lane. Look out! Shot out of a cannon. Rodriguez is going to take it all the way.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs,
New Mexico State's 21-game win streak came to an end yesterday. 66-63 loss at CSUN in the Matadome, which has been a rough place for teams from New Mexico over the last couple of seasons. Ned, you brought it up earlier. It was Anthony Mathis had hit a game-winning shot 2 years ago when the Lobos opened up there. It's a team that for 38 minutes, New Mexico State looked pretty good, and then the final 2 minutes, they look like a squad that hadn't played a game since December 1st. But there's moments that jump out to you in games, and there was one that New Mexico State had a breakaway. The guard, I can't remember if it was Williams or Gilliard, throws it off the backboard. Johnny McCants coming in for the slam, he misses it. And you can just tell at that moment in time, is it going to be one of those nights in those big moments? Because at the immediate timeout, Chris Jans ran directly at both those players. And you just had to be happy he had a mask on so you couldn't read his lips. Because, that's a situation you don't want to be in as a player. Breakaway, you try to get too fancy and miss the dunk, you're going to hear about that.
And then you lose the game. That's even bigger because now you got a team over there saying, hey, look, they think that they're that much better than us. They can throw alley-oops off the glass and try to show us up in our own arena. This is going to be a fun game. This guy has done a tremendous job in his coaching history and his background. And I know he's been under a lot of investigations, but he's also done a great job everywhere he's ever been coaching. So, I mean, they've got a formidable opponent. And in Northridge, and I know they got some transfers as well, but they had a pretty good team last year as well. And Elijah Harkless, my buddy's son, who transferred out of Northridge, starts at Oklahoma now. So, I mean, for some reason, they're getting good players. And Jim Herrick's on that staff, and they've got a lot of guys, a lot of veteran personnel as far as their staff is considered at Northridge. And so I was expecting, maybe New Mexico State to, be in a close game, but I didn't think they would lose. So,
and of course, Ned.
Unfortunate for our little brothers, but that's okay.
You and Jeff Symbieta with us, opening drive here on 95.9 FM AM 610 The Sports Animal. it's about also talent pool and those big West schools, West Coast Conference schools. A lot of them are great campuses. There's a lot of players to select from. And it feels like with schools like Cal State Northridge, the Matadome, they did a nice little touch up to that gym. Have you been there since they've touched that up, Jeff?
Yeah, well, last time I was there was when Reggie Theus was there, so I don't know if they had touched it up since then. But yeah, it's they've done a nice job to it. Ned knows. I mean, there's so much talent there. Look, in the Valley, the Valley's bigger than most cities, right? Like, and it's considered a part of LA. But the Valley there's so much good talent there, and so those schools are like a place like Northridge, and you bring in Mark Godfrey and Jim Herrick on that staff. There's a good chance that they're going to recruit well. How about your guy Vontae Hendricks hitting that big bucket down the stretch, the former Lobo for Cal State Northridge? But that was a game that the Aggies won. Like they, to me, as much as you want to credit Northridge and everything, Aggies were up by 11 points with 4 minutes to go. Jan should be upset because I thought they took their foot off the pedal. And to your point, the McCants missed at the rim. They missed a few times at the rim, threw the ball away, got sloppy, and I just, to me, and you credit Northridge, right? We've talked about it a million times, JJ. For every comeback, there's a giveaway or whatever. But to me, the Aggies should have won that game.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's Chris Jans when you heard him in the post game or reading the quotes. He was kind of at a loss because this hasn't happened. He hasn't seen his team not perform at a high level in the crucial moments. In the final 2 minutes, that's not what you expect out of New Mexico State. Not the defensive intensity, as you said, finishing at the rim. And that's still something that you would expect this team to have because there's not a lot of turnover. Or they still have the majority of their core back. Yeah, Jabari Rice might not be playing, but you're sitting there up with a minute 43 to go in that game, up 63-58. You'd feel that you have enough guys on the court to get it done.
Yeah, no, and defensively too. I mean, look, they now give it to Northridge. They hit a couple shots. A three from the right wing was a big shot, but that's one that's going to hurt. That got away. First Division one opponent, and I thought, watching them, thinking, all right, you know what? There's something here. After 20 whatever days off, they're going into a place against a team that's decent. What were they, 4-2 or whatever they were, 3-2? They look as good as I thought they would look. And then, boy, those last 2-3 minutes, it's one of those that you kick yourself, and hopefully they learn. But to me, and I don't know where you guys are, but that was more they lost that game. My brother, Ned, my brother's a CSUN alum, and my phone was buzzing within about 90 seconds of the final. And about his gutty little Matadors is what he told me.
Getting the job done. Yeah, and I think New Mexico State is hoping to find one more game somewhere on the schedule before they open up conference play January 8th against Dixie State. And they had a 27-day layoff. 12 of those days they weren't doing anything because they had to pause the program due to COVID-related issues, but still, they looked like a team that could figure it out. I was really impressed with Johnny McCants, all of a sudden turning into like this stretch for hitting three-point shots when they started McNair inside, and I think that's an element that could be big for them. Eli Chua's gone, the other post presence, so can McNair be that guy that steps up and becomes that defensive stopper that they've had over the last few years?
Yeah, McCants going outside I thought was big. He hit the two big threes coming down the stretch, which I thought put it away. I really did. I thought that was going to be the difference, and then they folded down the stretch. So hey, so I haven't heard a lot of your Lobo talk. I watched. So the hotel I was in didn't get CBS Sports on the second game. I watched some of the first game. So is it as bad as it looked to me, or is it just Boise State was really good? It was a step up in competition. Like, what am I to expect against Nevada this week?
Well, Nevada, I think you're hoping that it's going to be more competitive. Maybe Nevada is not as good as Boise State, but it was bad. There's no way to spin being down 40 points in a game like they were second time around to Boise State. This team doesn't look like they quite have an identity yet. And shooting, where's it going to come from? Here we are again, Jeff, right? You talk about it every single year. Players on this team, where's it going to come from? The true freshman might have to be the savior of this team, Javonte Johnson, because they don't have a lot of guys that can do much from the perimeter at this moment.
Yeah, I just saw some of the reaction, and I saw what it looked like, and I'm like, damn. And here comes Steve Alford, and he didn't even get to come to the pit.
No. He gets to go to Lubbock Christian.
Yeah, he'll love that. Yeah, he'll love that. He'll love that. All right, boys. Enjoy the day. I gotta bounce. I'm gonna pull out. I'm not sending you to break, but I gotta go take care of a couple of things. Thanks for letting me crash your party today.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jeff. It's great to hear it. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I know everyone will be excited to have you back next Monday morning.
I'll be back next Monday morning.
Vacation, man. You've been working hard.
Yeah.
Yes, get some vacation in.
Yeah, where am I going to go, Ned? I was going to go.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go clean the garage.
Go to the Sandia,
I know. You go down to SoCal and play some golf, see my family. It's like, yeah, you can't go do that. So, but you guys have.
When we don't have you in person, Jeff, I automatically assumed you were in LA. But even in LA, they're on lockdown, so it doesn't matter where you are. We're trapped. So.
Yeah, Texas. I got to tell you what, Texas was pretty open.
Texas is wide open.
It was bizarre. I mean, you wore your mask, but I was sitting in restaurants, and the golf courses that right outside the hotel was getting play, and it was they're moving, but that's a whole nother world. All right, boys, have a happy New Year.
All right. Appreciate it. Jeff Symbieta joining us on the opening drive. He's back Monday. Much appreciated. Fun catching up with Jeff. We come back on the other side. We keep it rolling. OD here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Tell me where I'm. Sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili, breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
I'll just get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what he'll just shoot it. He's going to go all the way.
He's gonna fire at the buzzer and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much.
Tie in the district. Inside, fly, Eagles.
Chavez uses some athleticism. And then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds. And look at this, stripped, stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Could have said that anything better. He answered the question.
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
Medina from the volleyball lines. Medina wants another one from deep. Oh, he wants 10. Give him 10!
Lewis finds Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Vista, but just all the different scenarios we could see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.
Moreno extra pass. And Watson. Out with it, Gallegos, and he's going to run all the way. Window, yes! Able to get out of it. How did he find Battle? It's to Cunningham, and it...
I mean, Ramos' hand.
Ramos puts it up, beats the buzzer!
Boy, Jefferson wide open.
Jefferson to Daraji! Into Watson with the jam!
Another steal by Davina Lovato, and here comes Agbayosi. Lob, two-hand hammer. You knew that was coming.
th annual New Mexico. Yeah, it was played in Frisco, Texas this year, but they got it in, and it means the game is stable, and I cannot wait till that's back at University Stadium, and we can all be together watching a college football bowl game in person once again.
I couldn't believe he's in New Mexico. I thought for some reason he was in California. And then I'm thinking, even if he's in California, you're still on lockdown. So everywhere you go, you can't really go anywhere. So vacation is vacation 2020, which is the garage or
well,
the yard or
anytime you get to sleep in, you take it as a vacation when you can. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by Ned James, Micah, Alden, J. Paul. I'm sure Josh was around there somewhere, busy at ProView Networks. Once again, shout out. This guy's helped us out big time this morning. You know, in the world of remote radio, sometimes you run into issues. Got us going, kept us rolling. We're here for you. 246-0610 is the Quan's Auto Care hotline. You can email the show, jj@610canamel.com. Also, you can find me on Twitter. It's _JJ Buck. Speaking of first world problems, you know, sometimes I miss the old school games where you could just blow into the cartridge, you know, just go pop it into the Sega and then the Nintendo, and you're good to go. The issues, man. So yesterday, got NBA 2K over in the Christmas break. You know, yeah, still a gamer at heart. Pop it in. So you have to install games these days on the new consoles. You know, it takes some time. You put the game in, installs it, good to go. I thought I was ready to go. Put my son down for a nap. I was like, all right, I'm going to fire up 2K for the first time, turn it on, update required. Is there not a worse thing to see in this day and age, whether it's you pop on your iPhone, your iPad, you sit down to stream something, or especially when you go to the game console and it says update required? Because you know what? You're not playing games for the rest of the day when update is required. It doesn't matter. You can turn off your cell phone. You can connect that thing directly to your darn router, and it's still going to take hours to update. So first world problems. New age games, they look great. They're fun. But my goodness, sometimes I just want to go back to my Sega, pop that cartridge in there, 3 buttons, and let's go.
Video games, the world of the video gamer. I wouldn't know what that is because I don't video game. So
you don't video game, Ned, but you're connected to the radio station and you're on a Zoom chat all at the same time. So I'd say that's 2 thumbs up for you, man.
Yes, and I always had friends. There are guys my age that play Madden, and when I coached in the league, they will call you and tell you how your offense messed up because when they played it on Madden, they were able to be more successful with the Titans than you are because you don't know how to strategize like they do on Madden.
Yeah, it's, you know, if you
I appreciate that.
You know, if you just run Spider XYZ banana, little play action rollout to the right, tight end post to the far sideline, it'll work every time. Why aren't you doing that, Ned? Why aren't you calling those plays?
Make sure they're down blocking. Make sure that left tackle is not overreaching and getting whipped underneath by that that defensive end that's making what $10 million. So that's the only things you have to worry. Those are the only little things that you have to worry about when you're actually coaching real human beings.
So you're telling me that my Madden offense, which is fantastic, is not going to translate to the NFL. I'm not sure if I quite buy that. I can press A with the best of them.
Yes, and a lot of people out there in this world who play Madden believe so as well. I've gotten several emails from family and friends who play Madden about strategies that we should be using as an NFL franchise as compared to what they've used in their Madden. I guess they dominate their Madden leagues. So they believe that since they've dominated their Madden leagues, they should be able to dominate the AFC South.
Right? Hey, you know, it's pretty simple. All you got to do is turn off the trade setting, and then you could acquire whoever you want. How did you guys just not go out there and trade for Tom Brady? How did you guys not get Brett Favre? Like, well, come on, it's easy.
And we should always go for it on fourth down, even if you're backed up in your own territory. Go for it on fourth down. That's the.
Did you? Okay, so
trick.
2 weeks ago, Jacksonville played a game without a punter.
Duval County, Duval.
Did you see? So they were in that exact situation 2 weeks ago. They did not have a punter on the roster. Like, someone's got to be able to punt, even if it's bad. But they were that exact team that it was 4th and 7, and like they're like 4th and 7 from midfield, drop back, and they were just heaving it downfield. Now, I don't know how you don't have anyone that can punt. You know, if a practice squad wide receiver can start at quarterback, you can find someone that could at least try to kick a football downfield. It might not work great, but heck, you know, you got to do it. But what it did was it made sure that the Jacksonville Jaguars stayed in that #1 spot, baby. Because you know what #1 means this year? It means Trevor Lawrence is coming to your franchise.
Well, teams are not trying to lose. People need to get out of that. They're not trying to lose the game. Guys, punters do get hurt sometimes. And you don't have another punter, so you may have to go for it on fourth down. It just depends. You know, sometimes your kicker can punt. Sometimes you may have a kicker that's, you know, from somewhere else, you know, some little Czechoslovakian country who's a soccer player who's never punted in his life. And then, you know, now you have to figure out who's going to punt the ball. And a lot of times you don't have another punter. So that I've seen that where that happened in a game once when I was in Seattle years ago, where our punter went down and our kicker really couldn't punt. And so we went for it a couple times on fourth down. But you don't typically go for it on fourth down. You're not typically trying to go. The strategy for the fourth down conversion, you know, it's the probability of advancing that fourth down or actually losing field position, because the game is a field position clock game, is high. So you really have to be careful. And like I said, it's amazing when you coach in the NFL how many letters you get from Madden fans and from family members, friends, like, how did you get my email address? First of all, oh, your sister gave it to me, and I told her I knew how you guys could win a game. And I'm thinking,
I told you what you guys need to run on 3rd and 7. You're not doing a good enough job with Steve McNair at quarterback. But that is the beauty of sport. I got
that email. You said, Steve, you're right. I got that email about Steve McNair. You're so right. And it's amazing how people really believe they have the answer because they're sitting in the stands watching.
I have the answer. They give me a microphone, so I'm going to tell you what the answer is 5 days of the week, because we love sports. We think we know more than everyone else, and we're sure as heck going to act like it. That is Ned James. Micah holding it down at Radio Ranch. We got Alden, ProView Networks, and there's J. Pole jumping in, the double masker. J. Pole ready to go. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. I got to.
The lob, tag by Osi, the one-hand hammer.
It up. And a drive from Parham.
space. He gives it off to Rivas for the three, and he buries it.
They'll be coming in soon. Double pick set for Avalos. Goes to the right. Avalos puts it up high. Window. Scores it as foul.
Right here by Lewis all the way, coast to coast, and finish.
What a...
Around the screen, against White, step back, it's blocked! JB with the block!
In transition, ahead to hit on for the two-hand hammer.
Minutes to go. They've got a shot. They have a chance, and it's put up, and it's good. What a three that is by Jalen.
Hito puts it up. Rebound Cowboys. Right side David Hall. Thank you very much. Here come the Cowboys. Lamina Lovato lays it up. Missed it. Hey, how about it? Thank you, Lusses. Thank you very much, Raquan Mitchell. Clock at 6. They get it. Barnes Tompkins fires. Yes! Pass up court. This for the win. Blocked by DJ Bustos. Cowboys win. Cowboys win.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
It's his second field goal. He's got 4 points. Watson, though, goes all the way.
Hit the deck, I should say. Cordova tried to throw it off Romero. A three for...
Set out to Jutapia. Nice move behind his back. It's a good... Here's Ramos. Step back. High arc.
San Diego is gunning for the LA Dodgers. They on the verge of another huge acquisition to add to their starting rotation. It was Blake Snell over the weekend, a late Sunday night trade going from Tampa Bay to San Diego. Now the Padres are close to acquiring Yu Darvish from the Chicago Cubs. They are in. They're sending prospects. They're willing to pay money. And yes, in sport, you still have to pay to get the job done. Even in the Moneyball era, teams trying to skirt the edges. Sometimes it's as simple as if you had the dollar bills, you're going to get the good players. In this case, for the San Diego Padres, what they did, Manny Machado a couple years ago, Fernando Tatis Jr. coming up, emerging as a young rising star in this game. You get Blake Snell, you get Yu Darvish, you have a great shot at running down the LA Dodgers. They're still the team to beat in the NL West and potentially the NL right now, but there are some teams that are coming strong. But the Padres get this move done with Darvish, and then you look at what the Atlanta Braves did last season. You're talking about young talent coming up big. Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies. You have the steady, everyday presence of Freddie Freeman. There's teams coming for the Dodgers, the defending champions, and you know that's going to get the attention of LA. It ain't going to be easy to try to repeat. We saw how hard it was for them to finally win that World Series with as good as they've been over the last few years, and now the rest of the NL is coming at them hard.
Yes, I think that the acquisition of Hugh Darvish, that's the game changer there. Now, Hugh Darvish and Blake Snell together, now they're rocking exactly with the Dodgers, with Tatis and Manny Machado was the name I couldn't remember yesterday that they have. I was thinking, who is the other guy? It's Manny Machado. So that team is going to be a formidable opponent to the Dodgers this coming season if those two deals get done. I know they're working on the Snell deal. They're still trying to finalize it to get that done. But the Padres are, and we knew that early on. They're moving all their chips in. They're all in on this team. They're trying to go for a World Series championship right now, and that's the formula. They see what the formula is now. You have to spend money to make money. So they're spending it, and fortunately, we're getting ready to see in the NL West if it pays off, because these two pitchers really changed the game, and I think it's going to be important to see how it goes.
Hugh Darvish, 34, coming off a year where I think he was runner-up in Cy Young voting last season. So the Padres send pitcher Zach Davies and 4 prospects, 2 18-year-olds, a 17-year-old, and a 20-year-old, to the Chicago Cubs. So Darvish is smack dab in the middle of a 6-year, $126 million contract that he signed before the 2018 season. So he's under control for a little while, but you're talking about a dude, 34, doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. He had a 2.01 ERA. WHIP was under 1 in 76 innings last year. Of course, a condensed season, but a great one for Hugh Darvish. So you got Darvish, Snell potentially atop the rotation for the Padres. At this point in time, just let San Diego and LA play an 82-game NL West schedule. Don't worry about it. The Rockies, the Diamondbacks in San Francisco, let them play their little round robin over here. Because if you're those 3 organizations, you already know it's tough and try to chase down the Dodgers. They're the bully on the block. They got the money. They got the talent. They're winning. But now San Diego coming out throwing around this money. If you're sitting there in those other 3 markets, you're just like, man, good thing they added an extra wild card, because it's going to be a while until we're competing for this division.
Yes, you're playing catch-up, definitely playing catch-up with this team. The Dodgers, everyone here in Los Angeles, or everyone in Los Angeles thinks that, that team should be competing for championships every single season. It didn't matter what year it was. So for them to actually finally get one and to look like they're going to be continuing that championship run here for a while, since that doesn't seem like anybody on that team is slowing down and they're young. You're going to have to do something drastic and dramatic in order to catch them. And it looks like the Padres are the only team this offseason that's committing to it. With the pandemic and what's happening as far as travel and being able to scout and those kind of things, free agency, you're going to have to go based on what you've seen and what you know as far as guys who are already have done it. So we don't know what these prospects are going to look like for these other teams. So as far as what it looks like on paper, the Padres and the Dodgers, they have the ticket so far to win a championship.
And where minor league baseball did restructure, so it's a 120-team minor league system, which put a few more players, unfortunately, out on the market. So we'll see how this adjusts moving in to the new year as Major League Baseball reorganized the minor league system. They try to take more ownership of the system overall. What we do know is no change for the Albuquerque Isotopes. They are still the AAA affiliate of the Colorado Rockies, or hopefully they'll be able to play games in Albuquerque and can start getting limited numbers of fans in attendance. It's a hope as we move into 2021, but still, AAA baseball, good to go in Albuquerque, affiliated with the Colorado Rockies. I know there were, unfortunately, a lot of cities that did lose teams, in the restructuring. I've been, a big part of the culture of baseball. So we'll see how that works out moving forward as they just try to streamline the process from low A to AAA a little bit more, but that did come at the cost of some minor league franchises across the country. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM AM 610, the Sports Animal. Big shout out. Thanks to Ned James joining us. He'll be back with us tomorrow and Thursday to wrap up the week. Jeff Symbieta hopping on. Great to hear him after everything he did last week. New Mexico Bowl on a little vacation this week, which just means sleeping in at home. He's back on Monday. Big thanks to the guys at ProView Network stepping up, Jay Pohl and Alden. Good job, Micah, for hanging in there, getting all the wires where they needed to go to keep us rolling today on the air. We'll talk with Hunter Green tomorrow, so he'll join us tomorrow, 8:30, for some Lobo basketball conversation. We got Jim Rome Show coming up next. Dan Patrick on One Sports Bar at 3. Lobo Talk at 5 tonight. More basketball. It's the opening drive, everybody. Metal World Peace and Love. Have a great day.
As Javi's working, and he's got a guy wide open, and it's Gay, and he's gonna walk into the end zone. But he did a good job with it. First and goal, it's Chavez to the middle, and Chavez stops.
Stevens in motion. On the handoff to Mitchell. Look out! Oh, see you later. Take it to the house. Fly. Cardinals fly. To the other side. Provides some protection. And off to Webskowski again. Look out. See you later. Good night. Touchdown. Webskowski. He's going to fire to the end zone. Open man. Touchdown. Wild catch. Not a defender inside. A little bit. Webskowski on the sideline. Hasta mañana. He's off to the races. Touchdown, Clovis.
Albuquerque this afternoon.
34-24. Late to the third. How about this run? Nice play. Dickerman. He's still on his feet. Touchdown, Wolverine.
Exactly what they want to get yards.
He's going to go for it. He's got a guy towards the end zone. It's grabbed. Touchdown. What a play.
And long here for the Storm. Handoff to, we're going to fake the handoff, excuse me. Davidson on the deep ball. He's got some space, and it's caught. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Storm. Wow. Santa Maria.
And so they'll send one deep.
and returnable at the 2. Usually Volcano do either a reverse or a fake reverse, and here it is a reverse. And a move to the outside. There is a lane. Look out! Shot out of a cannon. Rodriguez is going to take it all the way.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com.